guys. Happy Friday. Hey, Lashes. Hey, Carbon. How's everybody doing on this Friday? Y'all, every time I get on here, I be like, what is going on? Hey, Carbon, with this hair of mine. Carbon, you in the bushes today? I mean, are you going to be in the bushes? I know you be having stuff to do. Yeah, I think I'm making it worse. I'm good. It's Friday. Hey, Ghetto. I'm good. It's Friday. It sounds like it's raining out there, and it wasn't when I got home, but it was raining earlier. Hey, Willie, how you doing? Happy Friday. So yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I was not as amped up as I was yesterday when you talked to me. Drop the link. Okay, girl. um, hey, Bougie. How you doing, sis? Happy Friday. Yes. And I haven't talked to oh, I have her. I think I saw I think she yeah, I seen her speaking through the text, but we haven't talked today. Me and E. So, hey TLC in the garden. How you doing, sis? Hey Jason. How you doing? Happy Friday. Yes. How's everybody doing today? What's it like where y'all at? Is it cold yet? Is it rainy today? It's a little of both. It's not that cold. Actually, the last couple days we've been hitting 70. And guess what? Monday is supposed to be a high of 40 something. So in that last week it was in those type of temps. We going down, then up, then down. Y'all know what that mean? That mean they trying to get me sick and I'm not having it. I'm not having it. Hey DJ Play Nice, how you doing? Happy Friday. Hey Urban, happy Friday. Still warm. Yep. It wasn't warm though. Even with the 70, it didn't feel warm to me. You see, I got on long sleeves.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Gina. How are
I was
you?
like that. I saw your name before I seen it.
You know, I'm
I
crazy.
know you. How you doing?
I'm good. I can't complain. I've been busy, but I was so excited for you to have this conversation. So I'm
Hmm.
here. Hi, everybody. Tag, Jason, Urban,
Hey, Tech
Stacy,
Money. Hey, God's
Michael,
Desire.
Willie. How are you?
Yes.
I just
Listening in the bushes. It's a it's a conversation. I'm laughing at Tech Money.
right.
He was
Thank you, Boo.
ah,
What's
I
going on?
love it.
Thank
Erica in here? Oh yeah, there she go. I'm like, why are they speaking to Erica? Hey Erica. Hey pescatarian. Um, definitely looking forward to it's look ghetto ghetto. I was in my emotions yesterday.
Were you? Yeah, it's a
I
lot.
feel like I was pissed.
Yeah. These are the things that happen when we think they can't happen.
I
And
know.
especially in that community that you had very little crime.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and it wasn't. And the weirdest part about it is I wasn't so upset about what happened. I'm upset about that too. I mean, that's always heartbreaking, but that's not like I didn't get that emotional about that, and that's
Right.
also a scary thing that we're starting. I feel like we're starting to get
Desensitized.
desensitized.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's happening too often.
Yeah, it
Yep,
happens. I think
yep,
when it does happen, we kind of, because it's happening so frequently that we really need to look at this thing, look at these incidents and figure out like how can we prepare from them.
yes. And that's the part that got me worked up. Is
Yeah,
all that's exactly where my brain went. We got to be prepared. We got to do better.
definitely. Because
We got to.
I was watching a couple of the videos that they have of the victims, and they were saying in that neighborhood they don't lock their cars, they don't lock their doors. It's not even like alarms on the cars. So even if you didn't unlock it, if somebody touched it, it'll send off a signal. They live
Mm,
pretty much in a bubble of it can't
mhm.
happen here. It's a small town, and
Mhm.
it sure enough did happen.
Yeah.
And considering when you have shootings like that, they only last a couple minutes. It's not like
Yep.
an hour long or
Yep.
a deal. It's really
It
quick,
doesn't take very long to do a lot of damage.
really fast.
Mhm.
And they're intent when they do when mass shooters decide to go ahead and do it. When you watch and you pay attention to all of them, they're going there to inflict harm, to kill people.
Mhm.
That is
Mhm.
their objective. They don't
It
care who
is.
it is, but they're taking bodies.
Yep.
It's crazy. Situational awareness, as much as we talk about it, like people really need to go sit in a class, really, and not just the parents but the kids, because in that
Yep.
incident there were deaf children there,
Yes.
a lot of them, because that's
Yes.
the world, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And I heard about that part of it today.
Yeah.
The deaf um, people that were there.
Hmm.
I didn't know that, and you were saying that yesterday. Like we're gonna learn more and more every day.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I absolutely care. DJ Play Nice, trust me, I do. But
Yeah.
I also feel like we are getting a little desensitized because it does seem to be almost a common thing, which
Yeah.
is sad. Hey TT, I didn't see you come in, but I see people speaking.
Okay.
Um,
What did I mention?
but y'all know, usually,
Mhm.
typically, I don't have those kind of conversations on my channel. But I was like, it's not really just about the situation; it's what we can take from the situation that we're going to talk about, which I do talk about on this channel. Being prepared. So we're going to use this
Hey, Erica.
situation. Hey E, to hopefully just think about some things going forward, and hopefully look. There's no way to eliminate every situation happening to you. There just isn't. That's not the that's not what we're trying to feed to anybody, but it's also a way to put yourself in position to make things less likely
Yeah.
to, are more likely for you to change the outcome of.
Right.
Let's say that
I
maybe.
mean, if we sit back and we take the time to go and look up how many mass shootings happened just in October,
Hmm.
it'll really make you sit up and be like, "Wait, what? We didn't even hear about half of these." Like,
Exactly. You
it's
don't
like,
hear about most of
yeah,
them.
I
You
think
really don't.
the U.S. is over 500 for 2023,
Hmm.
between 400 or 500 mass
Yep.
shootings.
Hey, Happy Mac and Jamia, how you doing? Happy Friday.
Hello,
So,
everybody.
if you haven't heard, if you're someone who hasn't, because everybody doesn't catch these things. Um, what's today? Friday. So Wednesday night, there was a mass shooting in the state of Maine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't even know what the number is right now for how many fatalities, but I do know it was up there. It kept changing, so I don't
I
know.
think it's 19,
Okay,
19, and still 17 injured.
okay.
It's 18 dead.
Um,
18 and
I'm
17
sorry,
injured?
unalived. Yeah, it's
Okay.
unalived. Hmm.
yes.
Still holding it.
Um, there are the fugitive is still out there. The person, I don't know if they changed it from the person of interest. That was irritating my soul as well. Yesterday, it was reported from the beginning as a person of interest.
Mm-hmm.
Literally everything you read or saw in the news said is the individual who committed said crime. Yet they were referred to as a looking for as a person of interest,
Okay. Yeah.
not a suspect.
Even though they have video surveillance of him with the firearm entering those areas. But
Right.
again, this is why most people that are in our sector of the world or YouTube, if you want to say, that prep
Mhm.
and prepare themselves for whatever's going to happen. You can't trust
Yes.
the media because they'll tell you 50,000 stories. You have to be able to decipher, filter it
Yep.
through, and figure out what's going on. And
Mhm.
which is
They
sad because
haven't got him yet, Happy Mac.
Nope. He's still
yeah.
at large.
I looked it up. I mean, unless it's happened maybe in the last couple hours, but I had looked it up probably around 3 o'clock or so, and they still
Yeah.
hadn't.
No,
Hey,
I've been
GT.
watching it here and there, but
Mm-hmm.
I think they're
Mhm.
still.
Yeah,
Do you
So
think
there's.
they're gonna find him? They searched not his parents' home or his family member's home. There was another location that they actually did search, and they
his
found
last known address.
a
Mm-hmm.
suicide letter, but they don't want to tell you the contents of it, just saying that he won't
Mm-hmm.
be around by the time they find this, and how to get rid of certain things or where to find certain
Hmm.
things. His boat is still missing. When they break down certain things about this man, he's an avid outdoorsman. He's active military reserve. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so he kind of he knows what he knows,
He
right?
knows what
They
he's,
can't,
yeah,
right?
he's planned
They
it out.
right. They
Right.
can't find out, and he planned it out. Yeah, not, I don't think there's any people that really, when they do this type of thing, they don't have a plan. 9 times out of 10. Wait, before we even get to that, he threatened to shoot up a military base.
Mm-hmm.
How is he still walking around is beyond me because it was the military that sent him to get eval,
Mm-hmm.
and then he was released 2 weeks later. Now his
Mm-hmm.
neighbors, his community knew that he had firearms on top of that. I don't know if they knew that he was not all there, but
Mm-hmm.
if I'm well enough to know all of that, then
Right.
you
Mm-hmm.
he also supposedly they said his girlfriend, they broke up. There was an issue with that. Another station reported that he got fired. So he had a lot going on mentally. He had a
Mm-hmm.
lot
Hmm.
going on in his life, whether it's he didn't, even though he was in the military, he didn't see actual combat. However, he
Mm-hmm.
received several medals,
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You can get a medal for anything, but I'm just saying that
Mm-hmm.
does make it make sense.
Siege.
Hey, Siege. Yeah, I'm confused about his whole
Yeah.
situation, military
Hey.
situation. But that's like a you work for the government, but nobody knows your job title type of situation.
Well, the
It's
That's
military,
that's the way
necessary.
I'm taking it from like all the
Mhm.
details that's coming together.
All the non-details.
Right.
well, the
So
mix.
basically
Mm-hmm.
everything that I'm learning, you just basically read in between the lines. They
Yes.
can't spell it out for us. So just use
Yes.
your common sense and read in between the lines.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So with all this being said, there's a reporter on CNN. For whatever reason, between yesterday and today, he's been really in his feelings about how the police department only has 17 police officers.
Well, they don't have much crime.
Right.
That doesn't
But
surprise
he's
me.
kind of saying, like, after they had removed his vehicle, right, for the last known, when they found it, they removed it. And you would think they would search that area where they removed the vehicle instead of going back to his parents' house. He was kind of like, yeah, I'm over here, and these 17 police officers, like he was throwing the town underneath the bus. I think he was more frustrated, broadcasting it than he was actually with the whole situation. It's weird. Everybody is in their feelings about something with this, but I just think that we're not going to get all the details. That's the way I feel.
Exactly. Hey, Miss Cheryl. Hey, bro. Be
Hey,
careful
bro.
out there.
I think you have so many different departments working on this one particular case because they don't have a lot of police officers assigned to that particular area. That before they can give out any information, they're all going to have to sit down and make sure everybody's on the same part. Because I do believe the Coast Guard actually did come on board. I don't know if it was today or late yesterday to check the
It was
waterways,
today, this morning.
right? And
Right.
I think the
Facts,
FBI,
Siege.
a couple other surrounding police entities that are also assisting them on the border as well. So
Mhm.
that's a lot of agencies, and they all have their own different protocols and so forth. So it's gonna be a minute before you find out anything. And they're being very tight-lipped about everything. Like he has a whole suicide note, but they don't want to post that out.
Right.
So
That's what I was laughing at. Broke don't know who you are. You don't know Carbon Q. She been gone for a minute. That's Carbon.
that's
You
funny.
probably like, oh,
Hey, bro. Hi, Happy Mac. How are you? Good to see you. Hey, Joa. Cheryl, how are you?
Jova came in.
Hmm?
You said who? Oh, you said Cheryl.
Cheryl, yeah.
I thought you said Jova. I was like, he came in.
Me
I didn't
too.
see
I
He,
was about to
he is
say.
in there. Somebody just said hi, Joa. I could have sworn.
No, Siege
Oh,
asked
they
where
did.
Jova
Cheryl said that,
is.
but that was he's not in here, Cheryl.
Oh,
Miss
okay.
Cheryl. Siege said where is he at? He needs to explain all this stuff.
Oh, okay.
I'm
That's why
texting
she
him.
probably thought he was in here
Yes,
because I
and
had
then
put him up
I
here.
just see that and it went right up real quick. So I thought it was
Hmm.
um
But yeah, um, I agree. I get this is the pros and cons. We all want to live in a place where there's like very minimum crime, but it's very hard in my thoughts. It's just like any job. If you never really say you're an accountant and nobody ever comes in to get something done that requires your skill, you kind of I you kind of rusty when it's time to use it. So most people use it or lose it. And if you're what are you doing? How are you
Mhm.
keeping those skills sharp when there's nothing happening? Do you just not plan for if those things would ever happen? Hey, fam, fam.
I think I think like when we talk about training, that's why I stress training, especially if you've never had it before. At least just getting acclimated to certain things if you've never been in that environment. If you've never been in a environment where you had to fear for your life, it will help you out. You may not remember everything, but certain things will start clicking in once you gather your bearings.
Right.
There's so much to it. You kind of learn if you're a leader or if you're a follower, and there's nothing wrong with either one, because if you can't lead, then follow. But you got to be able to, in situations like that, you got to be able to, when it goes down, most people are focused on the person. You still got to scan the room to find that person that's looking, that's going to be like, who's with me, what we going to do, if I attack, that's
Yeah,
one person attacking. But if a whole bunch of people attack and swarm that individual, your chances are better of surviving. Understand, you might get hurt, you might get shot, but you might still
that
be.
was that
Yeah.
was my frustration, Carvin.
Yeah.
That was my first, and I get why. Because I was talking to a coworker today, and I was telling him, I said, my frustration was that there was no person in this event in either place who carried. It doesn't appear that there was.
No.
And I get why they wouldn't, because you shouldn't where they were.
Right.
But
I see. I
there's
disagree
still
with
people who I listen, I agree with what you about to say because
that. Okay.
that was my point. I'm like, I get that. But I asked him because he is very 2A. Very. And I said, would you, when you go, because I said, when you go to places like that, do you still carry? He said, yeah. I said, exactly.
Yeah.
Because you know that you're not going, he's not going to be drinking. He's not going to do something that's going to cause, because I get why.
Mhm.
It can be problematic, but there are still people who aren't going to have that kind of problem. So, yeah, is it a liability too? Possibly. But I don't know. I mean, why? I don't like having to go into situations where I can't feel safe.
Right. I mean,
And that
yeah.
I'm relying on someone else's safety. Like listening to the guy who tells about him running down the bowling aisle and going up where the pins
Yeah.
are,
Hmm.
sliding there and going up where the pins are and sitting there. He didn't even tell the story as if, and we had to wait 10 minutes for the police to get there, because he's not saying it in that way. He's just saying, I was up there for 10 minutes and then the police came. The thing that you need to focus on is that 10 minutes. Do you realize how
Yeah.
much can happen in 10 minutes?
Yeah.
How much did happen in 10 minutes?
Hmm.
And
He was
that's what
able to
most
get away. He
people,
was able to, be far, miles away from the scene.
exactly. And most people rely on making that call for help to save them.
Hmm.
10 minutes is a long time. Say you're in your own house and there's somebody comes into your home.
Right.
In 10 minutes, that person can done what they need to do and be gone and not be found for whoever. Actually,
Right.
if they know what they're doing,
Right.
and by the time that someone gets there.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
what your first line is you, not
Right.
them.
I mean,
That's what I
Hmm.
think I was most frustrated with. And
mm,
I'm like, we have to be vigilant a little bit. Like, you don't have to be out here being, you know, it don't
You don't
have to
have
be
to be
a
like
whole
me.
thing.
You
right.
don't have to be like me, like the Charlie's Angels.
Yeah.
But
But
you
you
really
still,
ain't, because it ain't like you out there, you got this whole, like,
right.
suited
I'm
up.
not silly.
Most people don't even know if they see you and you're carrying, they
Yeah.
don't know you carrying.
They don't know I carry.
It's not a showcase of something. It's just being, um,
I mean, when we talk about the firearms, pretty much majority of the people who, because it has very little crime there, nobody's on that alert type of time. However, even if they didn't have a firearm, you're in a bowling alley. There are so many things around you that you can use. You can use. I'm pretty sure people have beers and drinks at bowling alleys. Take his
right.
eyesight, throw it in his face. Somebody else get him from the other side. Again, that swarm technique. You can do that.
Yeah.
There's so many. There's bowling balls. There's pins. There's so much going
It's
on.
a lot.
But
Yes.
again, if you're not aware of what's around you, you got to utilize everything around you. Majority of people may have pepper spray in their bag, on their keychain. When the time comes to pull the trigger, you may not do it, but slide it to somebody else that don't have a problem letting that
Right.
off.
Yeah.
We can't always rely on our firearms because
That's
it's
true as
a
well.
situation. You can be prepared, but not
Yeah.
right.
Hey, Ray, that's true as well. And there was a person who they said tried to defend themselves. They had a knife.
He had a knife,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm. You can't bring a knife to a gunfight. You just can't.
If he had one,
Unless you catch
well,
somebody off guard.
right.
Yeah.
Like if somebody threw the drink in his face and he went with him after the knife, you got to be
Yep.
brutal because
Yep.
he's coming here to play nice with y'all, and you got to be with okay, like wherever you put that knife, that's what it is. You got to get him to stop, stab his hands up. He can't shoot if you don't have no fingers. You know what I'm saying? He
Yep.
can't see. If he can't see, he can still shoot, but you can at least
Hmm.
Right.
point him or push him down or whatever the case may be. So at the end of the day, look, it's good to
Yeah.
have a firearm, but sometimes you may not be in a situation where you can actually use the firearm. So
Hmm.
look around you, sir. Look at everything around you because everything around you is a potential weapon to
Hmm.
separate that dude from that gun, and that's what you want to do. Break his kneecaps from the back. I don't care
I
what you
was gonna
do.
say 2A said you can't bring a ball. Yes, yeah. Look, somebody throw that bowling ball and it hit him.
You want
At
to,
that point, they all had. That was my frustration. It's just like you see he's shooting. It's either you run away, but then like they said in both places, people tried to attack him. I mean, like
Hmm.
nobody wanted to figure out how to throw something at him. I mean, you
Hmm.
by any means, I'm gonna defend myself by any means, but
Hmm.
I don't know. I just feel like some
Yeah.
people get into shock or some people just get stuck
Absolutely.
to where
Absolutely.
they just, they really can't think straight, right?
right?
But at the
Yeah.
same time, at some point, something in your brain is gonna click and be like, fuck, I need to run. I need to hide. You need to do something.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that fight or
That's
flight. Some people are gonna fight. Some people are gonna take take off and go
Right.
wherever.
Yeah, we all are different.
Right.
Some people have that fight, and some people have that flight, and
Right.
some people don't have either. They just
Right.
freeze. Um, So
You have
yeah.
pens, you have, tables, you have chairs, you have glass. Break that glass.
Hmm.
It's the other place was a restaurant. You run into that kitchen, you grab that oil, whether it's hot or not, make the floor slippery,
Yes.
set the fire alarms off, let the sprinklers go off because that's going to distract him. That's going to
Mhm.
cause alarms to go off. It's going to signal the people something's going on at this place. Like turn it up. Like he's turning it up, you turn it up too. If you have that in you, it's so hard when you're in a situation to like immediately figure out who's going to be on your side. But when it does happen, it's crazy that you can lock eyes with somebody and it's like reading each
Yep.
other's mind. Like we're on it, let's get it. you know
Hmm.
when you're ready, I'm ready.
Right.
Pay attention to your surroundings. Like, you see people that will come in there only sit in a restaurant so they can observe the window, the door, the exits. These are all reasons why you should know where they are. He comes
Yeah.
in. If you're not a fighter, start boogieing to that door. Like, get out the way. Don't stay in
Yeah.
one spot. Utilize everything around you. I don't care if it's a salt and pepper shaker. Throw some salt in his eyes. You never know.
Right. Right.
Besides, use your pocketbook. Use those baby bags. Use anything. You ever got hit in the face with a pocketbook, a book
Right.
bag?
Listen, I listen.
It's not nice. It's definitely not nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Happy Mac, I don't think there's it because I'm looking to see. I was trying to think who came in today. I haven't seen any of the New York peeps that I know,
Mm-mm.
but there are a lot of them, and they do have. There are some that have
Their
this
license. I'm actually trying to
or
get mine
handguns,
in
I
New
should
York.
say. Um, check out. I don't know if you follow My Fly Family. Definitely
Yeah.
follow them. They go live on Monday nights. It's a lot of New Yorkers in that live,
Hmm.
Yeah.
and they can tell you like what they may know if that's every year or not because I don't know if
I
it
mean,
is or
I
isn't.
can let you know next month because I'm trying to do mines next month for New York. Like I have
Hmm.
mines for Georgia, but I need one for New York as well.
I know that Frosty and Diana were talking about that,
Yeah.
but I don't know if they talked about if it was every year. And it is harder, but it's doable because they
Yeah.
have them. There's
It's
several
just a
people
long waiting process. But I think they said it's a one-time fee though.
that.
I
Hmm.
don't think it's a every year thing. I think it's a one-time
Hmm.
fee.
Hmm.
Or is
Same
it
here.
once every you pay that payment every 5 years? It's either one-time fee or every 5 years. But before we go on, Ghetto, you said that you was leaving if I was gonna speak. So why are you up here? Why are you up here?
Because
We don't
I
want to hear from you. Let's talk to Miss
Like,
Ghetto, and Miss Ghetto were related to
look,
us.
I can't get a comment out my mind, and you didn't post it up here, but Tech Money said it looked like the tactical Powerpuff Girls up here, so I had to join.
Yes. And I agree with what Siege said. It is nothing wrong with if your response is
To
flight.
flight. Yeah.
If you
It,
need to,
it's
your
situational.
response is to run. That ain't not look. Ain't nothing wrong with that. If that's what you see as your way of being safe.
hmm there's nothing
Yep.
wrong with it. Right, double dog. That's absolutely
I
true.
agree.
Yeah.
To me, I feel like it's like a godly intervention, right? Because I've been in some pretty messed up situations, right? Where one time I actually ran instead of facing, the enemies and doing the actual stuff, which later on it messed my head up because like, dude, what the hell why would I even run when the last time and the last time before that, I'd fight. So it's situational. It really is situational. It depends
Yeah.
on, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like you got people in the bathroom probably just had some bad nachos, they stomach all messed up. What they gonna do? Jump off the
Even
pot
if
and
they
start
was in
fighting?
there using the restroom, that's
Right.
scary when you
It's
start hearing something happening
yeah,
outside of there.
right. It's nothing
Right.
wrong in running or taking flight. Sometimes you need that extra 3 seconds or whatever, however long it is, to get a game plan in your head. You might be
Hmm.
in unfamiliar territory, or
Hmm.
you're by yourself and you're just like,
Right.
dang,
Hmm.
what's going on? Let me figure out. And you sit back and you kind of not really sit back, but you start thinking quickly, what is it? Where's my next exit? What is in here that I can use? A fire
Mhm.
extinguisher, blind him, it creates a lot of smoke. He can't
Mhm.
see, but when you
Right.
first walked in, you're like, I know where the exit is. You start moving.
Mhm.
In that particular situation, you have children, so that's going to have a lot of people wanting to
Yes.
go that way or get to
Right.
them first and protect them.
Right.
Yes.
It was a crazy situation, and most people are going to
Yes.
do that. You also have to be
Yes.
prepared that some people bug out and they can't move. You have
Yes.
to be able to say, listen, let's go. And if they're not going,
Yeah.
time is of the essence. You might have to leave that person to save
Yeah.
the other five or four that you got along with you. It's a tough
Yeah.
situation. Training, it's not the actual situation, but it helps you.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying about the officers. Like I mean, I don't know that they didn't have a lot of training as that goes, but I wonder if how much that they do have, considering that they don't have a lot of things that happen where
Right.
they're at.
But it usually takes
You know,
something.
they may have initially had it, but how much are you continuing to do?
Right. And as a community, after this situation, they should actually sit down as a community and be like, listen, we need to change a few
Hmm.
things because we thought it couldn't happen, and here it is happening. Majority of
Yeah.
us that live in other areas where it's norm. I hate to say that, but
Hmm.
you know, we're,
Yep.
we're already on that. What? Like
Yep.
where are you going?
And
What's
I left this comment up because I didn't want to forget to say this. Y'all, those who don't know, if you type frugal in my chat, it will drop your channel link. So, Devil Dog, I want you to drop your channel, your drop frugal in the chat. I met him last year. Well, this year actually. Dang, I'm already in the next year. This year at Bug Out, the Bug Out weekend with Vision Preparedness, he came to that, and I haven't been Devil Dog. You don't do content though. I don't think. God dang it, I don't think he does.
I thought he did. Could have sworn double
I
dog.
don't think so. Let me know if you do. I think we talked about that when we met. I
Yeah.
don't think he does yet. Let me know though. If you do, drop your channel link.
Mhm.
You do.
Yeah,
I don't.
I thought so. Mhm.
I haven't. Have you been doing any? I don't think I've had anything pop up.
Yeah,
Um.
he just started like a month ago
Okay. I thought when
though.
we talked that would have been back in April. I don't remember now.
Right.
May. It was right before ARM. So that was in June. So it would have been in May probably. Um, but I think that he's a good person to kind of check out.
Yeah, it
Like he
is.
said, he's been in combat, but he's a prepper. I
Mhm.
mean, his bag because they went on a hike and they went on a hike with their gear. Child, his gear probably weighed as much as me. I was looking at his bag like, good lord. But he trains for it. He practices for shift.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of people out here who do that, and there's a lot of different types of ways to prep for situations.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, this situation just heightened me because it wasn't even just what happened; it was the after effect. Everybody was asked to shelter in place,
Mhm.
and most people here, authorities tell them to shelter. Somebody just went down my street with on a motorcycle to shelter in place, and they think, okay, well, I'm gonna be home, so this is my safe place.
Right.
But if you're home and you have no way to protect yourself, and the person that they're looking for is still out there,
Mhm.
um, they can come to your shelter, and that's a bigger problem. Like if he wanted to wreak more havoc, he could have just mapped out homes that he thought were easily accessible and caused more damage. And he knows where you're at because guess what? Everybody's sheltering in place.
Yeah.
And that bothered me.
Mhm.
I was like, because we looked up the stats. I think Erica did. And it's like for the whole state, it was like 35% of that are known to be firearm owners
Mhm.
of our entire state.
Yeah.
Um, And probably in that little small area, it probably was just sprinkles of folks.
Right. When they did the shelter in place and you're watching it on TV, you have a lot of armored vehicles. You have a lot of people, personnel, firearms drawn. They're at his home thinking that he's on the inside. Nobody knows if he is or isn't. However, if you're the house on either side of that or across the street from that, I would assume that they would evacuate those people because of gunplay, because that he is a firearms instructor, quote unquote, as per them. He is prior military, and apparently, since they're so heavily armed, he has to have some type of training that will make them gear up that way.
Yes.
So when you have the stay in place, being prepared is good because now you got to leave your house. Now you're on a bug out.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you going? I'm pretty sure they put them up someplace, but however, you're not going to be in your home. And just say if they didn't, you are on either side of a potential incident that can have firearm exchange back and forth. Do
Yeah.
you have a place in your house where you can not be part of that? They
Yeah.
turn off their lights so that he can't get a visual on them. Are you in your house with all the lights on?
Mm-hmm.
Tell you to turn all of
Right.
the,
Yeah.
turn your lights off. So at the
Yeah.
end of the day, there was a lot to learn from that.
It was. I mean, you're in a city with 17 police officers. They
Right.
can't protect everybody. They can't make it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They're concentrating efforts in places that they're trying to find him.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know if they're using all their resources there because other authorities came in. So it's not just those 17 officers anymore,
Okay.
but the ones that came in absolutely aren't patrolling the neighborhoods. That ain't what they there for. So,
Great Bougie. Bougie says you stay walking in the
look,
dark.
me too, bougie. We listen,
You know,
and that's just out of habit. Like
right?
we don't have that. That's old school mamas. Why them lights on? Why you got lights just on?
I mean, I would think maybe they did, and evacuate those three houses in that vicinity because if it was me, I would use it to observe his house.
Hmm.
The house is pretty big, so there's so many access points for him to
Hmm.
leave out or whatever the case may be. But maybe they didn't. I don't know. They don't have a lot of crime there. Maybe they don't even have protocols for that. That's why all those other agencies are in there now. It was above their PD's, scope of duties. Who knows? But at the end of the day, did they have tarps? Did they have the garbage bags, the heavy duty ones to black out their windows? Do they have a bug out hub in their home? If bullets do pass back and forth, you want to go to a place that has the majority where it's steel or concrete or wood. Do they even have that? Are you prepared for that? Do you have food down there? Do you have medication? Because
I was just about to say that. That was the conversation we had yesterday.
Yeah.
I said, what if they don't? What if you're that person who I know a person like that. I don't know people. I do know one person that's this way, who literally buys enough groceries to make it through that week. Their fridge never gets has stuff like just freezer or fridge just in
right.
there. When at the end of that week, the freezer's empty, fridge is empty, she needs to get more stuff. If
Mhm.
you're that person, this happens on Wednesday. Say Friday is your day or Thursday is your day and you're on in a situation where you have to stay in place. Now you have no food. Like, are you prepared of any situation where you can't get out to be able to feed you and your family if necessary?
Right. We live in a DoorDash society, you know what I mean? Most
Exactly.
people just get the Uber Eats and the whatever, you know what I mean? My
That
neighbors
ain't
is the
working
same
right
way.
now though. So you got
Exactly.
you know that's why the title was how prepared are you? Like, are you prepared? It could be, it doesn't have to be this type of situation. It could be weather related. It
I
could
was
be
just gonna say
anything
weather,
that
yeah.
causes the
Mhm.
system that we live in now not to be functioning the way that we live in it at on this particular day.
Right.
Are
That's how
you
I start.
prepared to be able to I don't want to use the word survive, that's the word that was coming to me, but not so much, but just to function within that those parameters.
Right. It's
Right.
and be okay.
it's good to have a plan to have, to bug in and to bug out because you never
Mhm. Mhm.
That's how I start my conversations with most people. Because obviously most of us is like minded up here. So at the end of the day, it's kind of an echo chamber, and we're hoping that one of those people that ain't really familiar actually learn something from us, or from these topics or whatever. But when you're out in the out in the real world, and you're talking to your neighbors and stuff, you don't want to just be like, "Hey, man, all this can happen. You got to get this. You got to do this." You want to start talking to them like, "Man, did you see that 6 inches of snow we just got? And we in Phoenix, Arizona. What the hell's up with that?" You know what I mean?
know.
So it's like, so if we have a weather event, what do you have to stay ready? Because I'm not going to be able to have that extra cup of sugar for you because I'm worried about making sure my family's okay. And it just
Right.
kind of snowballs into a good conversation. You really
Right.
don't want to push it to people that I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot of cognitive dissonance out there. There's that they expect the system to work every single day. As soon as they wake up, they look at their phone. They know their internet's working. They know their power's
Mhm.
on. They don't know
Mhm.
anything else.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Correct.
And
That's
by
true.
helping them, that helps your family because you ain't gonna be, you know what I mean. You're not gonna have to fight somebody that ain't got nothing. Because once a person, especially a person with kids, once they run out of stuff, they're gonna do whatever the hell they can do to feed
Desperate.
their babies. You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is a good question, bro. That's why I put it up there because that is a good question because what what is considered prepared is what is considered prepared for you. It's going to be different for everybody. There's what things that you can do to be prepared. Um, like for instance, you garden. I don't know if you can or not, but I do know you preserve. I know you freeze stuff so that you'll have stuff on hand, throughout the year and things like that. Maybe it's having, like we said, food available, having some way to protect if there's someone there to cause harm, so having some way to protect you and your family if someone comes into your space to cause harm. Um, Having medical supplies around just in case you may need them for whatever reason. You always need to have those things around. Like I said, those people are staying in place. What if they need certain things? Just have those things always. Don't um I feel like don't wait for things to happen to need to get the thing.
Right.
There's things around my house all the time that no, am I touching or using those things all the time? No, but it may become a situation where I need it. And there has been things that have come a situation where I'm like, oh, I have that. It's down in the basement. I have something for that, and I go and get it, and I'm good. I ain't got to go out and find it or buy it or nothing. I have it.
Yeah.
It's just being as prepared as you can for those what ifs. Like depend it's going to depend on where you live. You're in the South. I'm in the Midwest. We get kind of cold. We don't get as cold as some areas, but we get kind of cold. So you know, knowing that I'm going to need things that say I don't have any power and it's cold, I need to be able to keep warm. So having those things around and available. So it depends on the person.
Right.
You could just work on your basics. If you take medication, make sure you have a supply of that particular medication because
Hmm.
people are in, they're pretty much locked down. I don't even know if the pharmacy is open or not down there. However, if you take medication every day and your life basically, you know, needs that to sustain
Hmm.
a couple of those years that you can get through, because it's like what day two for them. It's
Yes.
Yeah.
that
Yes.
they're a tight community and that there's people cooking food and leaving it out, and people are being able to go grab food and have at least something to eat. If you're going to, shelter downstairs in your basement where you're out of the line of sight of that fire, if you're close to those people like that, you want to have water down there because you don't want to be traveling through your house and then all of a sudden there it is. If he's trying to get out, let's just say hypothetically, he's trying to cause a diversion and he shoots over into your house. Now everybody's looking at your house. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to be standing there. You want to keep your family and everybody close into a separate area of your house
Mm-hmm.
until that is cleared up. We don't know how long they're
Right.
going to be inside there, or how until they find him. I'm pretty much sure that stay in place order is going to stay in effect for a while.
Yeah.
Right.
You want
But
to have
see,
shelter, some candles, because again, they're turning out their lights and they're out in the street. You don't want to have something that's bright and exposing where you are, where your location is in that house. There's also
Mm-hmm.
drones that was up there, and I think the news reporter at that time was like, "We don't know whose drones those were. What if it was his
Mm-hmm.
drone trying to see everything that was going on?"
Facts.
We don't.
Facts.
So yeah, there's a lot of you just want to have your basics, to be able to have warmth, blankets. If you have kids, make sure you have some toys or something to keep them occupied. You might not want them on the TV at this point. You want to have
Yeah.
a radio so you can hear what's going on and be aware. You want to have radios just in case your neighbors down the street could tell you, listen, girl,
I
they
know.
so stay inside there, whatever. Or, the dog got loose, I got him over here. Anything, be
Mm-hmm.
able to have communication with your neighborhoods or whoever your mag or your team is, or whatever you want to do. Those are just like small little things that you can have on deck in
True.
your house that you can use
True.
for anything. You just keep
right.
do the basics and then
That's
just keep adding
very true.
to it. I'm sorry, go ahead. Medical,
No, I was just saying that's very true.
yeah.
Yeah.
Broke was saying that, he was thinking because he said thanking me because he said usually you hear get a pew pew and everything's okay. And
Right.
Broke, you are not wrong there. So, but there are more people in 2A who
Mhm.
are seeing that they haven't prepped, like that's not enough,
Right.
because I think that that was a thought process. But I'm seeing more and more conversations about prepping in the 2A community. Prepping,
Hmm.
gardening. There's some 2A in here. Of course, y'all know 2A in LA is 2A because of his name. But there's quite a few of 2A people in this chat, and
Mhm.
they have gravitated a lot over to you'll see them in a lot of gardening channels, canning, other kind of any kind of
Consider,
other prepping. They are they're trying to learn those
yeah.
things because they know that that's you can't eat a pew pew.
You can't eat
All
bullets.
right. Exactly.
You
I
can't
mean,
eat bullets. Yeah.
and those are going to be the most dangerous ones when we're all over here prepped up because of some big old weather event or something. It doesn't have to be necessarily a SHTF. It could be a natural occurrence or whatever. And we over here got food and everything. These all they got is a whole gang of bullets and guns, and now their tummies
Facts,
rumbling.
Yeah.
And you're going to be a human being at the end of the day, right? When you hungry, you're going to go eat.
Mm.
So
facts.
it's important that we get individuals that are just stuck in one bubble, which is kind of what they are. I was there for a while, just and I'm like, wait a minute, because at the end of the day, I think most people are trying to gravitate towards homesteading, where they have
Yeah,
their own bubble in the middle of the country, wherever, and they have their 2A, they got their preps, they got their gardens, they got their animals, you know what I mean? Because everybody's watching the system fall. We don't
yeah,
know how to fix it, so we got to fix ourselves. But yeah,
yeah.
it's definitely important.
Mhm.
Gina, I came up to ask you, lady, something. I wasn't trying to stay up here too long. Sorry, Erica, if I made you leave.
You
Um,
didn't.
I
I
know
think
I
she was
didn't.
doing something.
I hope at this point in our relationship you can take a joke. I don't know though. I've been getting scared of you, bro. But did you guys? So when the stories first started coming out, I was reading stories from. I was reading quotes and information from the man's sister-in-law and his brother. Right? They
Hmm.
were on several news stories, but it's almost like it started getting buried. So, and I'm not saying this dude is a victim or anything like that. I don't know, so I'd never speak on it like that. But he had got a high-powered hearing aid
Hmm.
within days, if not months, of when he started hearing these voices. Now, I think a lot
Hmm.
of us need to be aware that a lot of mass shooters like this, they start hearing voices.
Hmm.
With all the stuff that's going on in the world, the amount of enemies we got, including our own GOV, they have patents and technology that are able to put voices in their head. I know I'm going a different direction, and I apologize. I just kind of wanted to put the information out there that with what's going on, the fact that our country is on orange alert for the Muslim stuff and all the other stuff. Um, Me personally, I believe he could have been used as a weapon, especially with his training, especially with attacking. So just be aware of all the instances. Basically, is kind of where I'm getting at, because I know I'm going off of your topic, and I apologize, Junior. But I
Mm-hmm.
just think there's a lot more that they're not telling us. I think there's a lot, and we have to be, we have to be, we have to be aware of those types of situations as well. Um, of being able to decipher what's real and what's not, because they want us in a panic. They want us, because ultimately it leads the mass people to go to the stores and just buy everything up, the panic buying, the, oh my god, I gotta go get this, I gotta go get this because I read this headline on the news. That's kind of where I'm gravitating towards, is the amount of information they're giving us right now. It's got a whole lot of people either being desensitized or they're panicking. So right now, in a good right frame of mind, you need to go get that extra food, that extra water, that extra stuff. Don't go buy a bunch of stuff you ain't never gonna use and max out your credit cards. But you want to start thinking logically and not thinking off of emotions. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna
This
be honest.
is
At this, I'm sorry, Gina. At
no.
this
Go
point,
ahead.
if you're on your prepping journey, you're gonna have to max out those credit cards because you're at a
Wow.
point where there's a lot of people. There's a lot of things starting to disappear. Stores are closing. The ability to get some of those essential things that you need are super expensive versus what they were just a year ago.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you said it. I didn't want to say. I didn't want to
Because
say.
you got to be realistic with people, especially if they're now getting into the prepping game. If
Wow.
you haven't been doing it, and like well, even with us, we all started at different times. It does cost money.
Mm-hmm.
Cost
Yeah.
money for those jars, for those lids, for the canning, for just
Mm-hmm.
everything, freeze drying it to get
Mm-hmm.
your seeds are super expensive. Medical gear is super expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Ammo is going to be ridiculous if even
Oh
if you
yeah.
get it at this point in time, that's coming up along the way. So at the end of the day,
Yeah.
yeah, if you can get it, get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and ASAP. She's right. I
Yeah.
didn't want to say it like that, but I definitely 100% agree. I mean, if you look at World War II and all the, I mean, they were doing scrap metal drives. There was no ammo. There was no nothing because it was all going towards the war. And you got to be
Mm-hmm.
blind if you're not seeing over in the Middle East where they got China, Turkey, US. You got every major company's got battleships out there. We're all aiming our guns at each other right now. It's gonna go down. There's nothing that's gonna stop it. I mean, unless the Antichrist comes in and says peace, everybody. But then it's even gonna get more dangerous. But yeah, no, you're definitely right.
Mm-hmm.
But
I
that's
agree. My thing is, I think we have to stop waiting for someone to tell us stuff.
Thank you.
What are we waiting for them to tell us?
All right.
Whoever them are. We I always think it's so funny when people get frustrated with the government and the whoever who's in state or national government of
right.
what they're not telling us. I don't need them to tell me nothing. I'm gonna make what I need to do here for mine happen because they ain't never gonna be telling you what you all the things you need to know. They gonna tell
Right.
they gonna use excuses of it's to protect certain things or it's to protect you from from being afraid or whatever excuses. But
Right.
we're never going to hear full of anything. Like I said that about this situation, it would not surprise me if we don't hear anything else in regards to this, other than him being captured.
Right, right. Like there'll be a big Trump story that comes out that just floods the news. There'll be a,
That's
a big Israeli story that comes, and just floods the news. I mean, that they
and that's
they bias.
frustrating.
Yeah, they bias through the ads and the technology. The Israeli Ministry of Defense spent some odd hundreds of millions of dollars to Google, to YouTube, to all the social media platforms just to promote their commercials. and that's why you
Mhm.
see so much about it.
Stop saying that because they might
Oh, my bad, my
the
bad.
channel up.
Er,
They're funny when you say certain
yeah,
things.
yeah, my bad, Gina. Sorry.
Right? And I didn't mean to cut you off like that, but I don't want to
No,
like.
you're good. No, I appreciate it. My bad, my bad, my bad. I'm just saying there's so much distraction, and they actually have. There's a lot of information that they unclassified or declassified or whatever about
Mhm.
these particular situations, the psyops, the actual psyop weapons that they use against the people. So at the end of the day, if you're prepared, you ain't worried. I mean, because
Yeah.
that's really all that matters is if you're not worried for yourself, for your food, for
Yep.
your water, for your family. That's all we're trying to teach people. That's all I've been trying to teach people is I just
Right.
don't want you worried. Because a worried
Right.
person, that's what I get worried about. Like, all right, you over there fidgeting. What you doing in the
Right.
back seat, man? You fidgeting. I don't
Yeah.
like
And
that.
I feel like even with distraction, it's not we. Why are we mad at them? Because we the ones being distracted. Because you
Exactly.
can somebody can't if you in an argument with somebody and they could easily change the argument to making you the person that was wrong in it when you know you didn't do anything. You can't be mad
Right.
at them because you can get mixed up here and change that around. You have to if this is something that's important to you, you got to stay focused to it.
It's so much going
Right.
on. I don't even know how we're distracted with anything going on with anybody else because right here at home, there's so much going on.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So we really need to kind of like pay attention here. Your food,
That's how
your,
I feel.
yeah,
I'm always I'm always more in and knowledgeable well seeking out more information on
mhm,
the things that happen here.
yep,
I am I more I when it comes to on my because I get the Google News feed and it's something that's happened in these states. I will dig into what's being talked about
all right. You
more
know,
so than other places. I get the impact of the things that happen in these other countries to our country, but it still isn't another country.
right. Pay attention to it, but be more proactive here because we have a lot going on in our, right here everywhere we go. You know, there's a lot of
Yeah,
chaos going on right now.
it
Besides that,
is.
inflation, our dollar, somebody mentioned it earlier, our dollar is trash right now. Like,
Yeah,
what are you gonna do? There's people that can't make their rent or their mortgage payments anymore. Homelessness is about to be a big thing. We're homeless, but
yeah,
what is anybody else gonna do if they're in all that turmoil? You better start getting yourself together
So,
yeah,
because who's gonna help you us?
yeah,
Like we helping everybody else, but we're not taking care of home, and that's not a good look.
yeah. And honestly, Mirror, because you're right, they don't usually say anything else about it after the capture, but it's public information. You could follow lawsuits, all
Mhm.
the filings. You could read what's said in them. If you just willing to do the take the time to look it up, it's most court filings are so they're very public. There's
right.
very little of it that gets closed off from the public.
Right. And depending on how you look at it, fortunately or unfortunately, I don't think this one's going to go away. The fact that he was a gun trainer, firearms instructor, the amount of knowledge he had, this is going to push an agenda really hard because it wasn't, you know what I mean? It's not just some random person on the street that's shooting everything up. Because
Mm-hmm.
within hours of the situation happening, you know, you had certain individuals at the top talking about we need to ban this, we need to ban that. I mean, it only took them hours to bring that up. So I don't think this particular one's going to go away because I mean, you know who the enemy is these days. You know what I mean? A middle-aged
Right.
white dude that has training, and I seen a couple news articles that said, oh well, we pulled off some tweets that he had just a year ago, and he was in love with Trump, and it's like, dude, what has this got to do with the fact that this dude went crazy and killed some Americans? Like, stop trying to, stop. I just hate the fact that they throw the agendas in there. But anyways, I digress on that one. But yeah, I don't think this one's gonna. I don't think it's gonna go away. There's a worldwide plan, y'all. There really is, and
Camilla
we
Harris.
gotta be
I'm
we gotta
sorry.
be prepared. I was just saying we gotta be prepared for it. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
Kamala Harris just said this because of this mass shooting, she wants confiscation of firearms. Good luck, lady. But at the end,
Right?
Who
Yeah.
said
Good.
that?
Camilla Harris,
Oh,
Camilla, whatever,
I
that
knew who
was
you were talking about.
great.
Camel toe. Sorry.
Don't do that.
Sorry. I'm so
Don't
sorry.
do that. But at the end of the day, it's just keep your eyes open, stack this
Mhm.
stuff. Pay attention to a lot of these things. We're sad that this happened to these people. However,
Yeah.
learn from it. Learn from it. I hope that community, it took something so horrific. I think it's the largest mass shooting in the U.S.
Mhm.
this year. So hopefully, it'll wake a lot of people up to understand. Like you really gotta take care of yourself, take care of your community, take care of your family, get your kids involved. So many kids was involved with this particular incident. Good thing none of them were unalive. However, what if your kids are in a school setting and this happens?
Mhm.
I feel like once you start, because we was in a conversation the other day. I think a resilient dad and I forgot who else was in it, but they was talking about body armor, or well, we were talking about body armor, and he was saying, man, I was looking for some toddler body armor. I'm like, dang, man, that's it. Just made me kind of self reflect a little bit. You know what I mean? Like,
They have those book bags now. You just throw.
right, but once you start shopping for that, when is your
Listen, we're
excuse
not.
my language, Gina, but when is it your fuck it moment? Like I'm moving to the middle of Kansas. I ain't gonna have no neighbors. I'm gonna homeschool my kids. F society. I ain't putting no bulletproof armor on my baby just so I can go to the 7-Eleven. I'm sorry. There's got to be an effort moment for us as humans that we just need to stay away from people because people are the evil ones. Sorry. I'm sorry.
It's not the
I'm
people.
just
It's a group of people and their agenda that's evil, and
right, right.
It's
everybody.
always a small percentage that makes a huge impact. It's those that small, because it's not as many people as you think, but those incidents cause such a ricochet.
Mm-hmm.
Right, right.
Right. So, you know,
It's just like they say, one spoiled apple, one apple can spoil the whole bunch, because it can happen that way. It could be one rotten person, and now we're like, I just don't want to deal with people, because our trust, it kills our trust in
mm-hmm.
humanity. That's what happens. It kills our trust. That's why most people don't know their neighbors anymore.
Right.
Because there's no trust.
Yeah.
You're like, mm-mm. What's like if somebody's being nice to you, your neighbor speaking, and you're
Mm-hmm.
like, mm-mm. What's
Yeah,
your
what you want?
what's
Yeah.
your object? I got my eye on you, because see you
Mm-hmm.
up to something, and it could just be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Yeah.
Miss Shirley, I see y'all coming in. Hey, Crystal.
Right. Hi, everybody. How you doing? Hi, Miss Shirley.
One
Um.
person has caused panic and division to an entire, yes, and that happens a lot, Siege.
Mhm.
It
I mean,
does.
that's what the government's all about. I mean, that's why I got the
But
red and
it's not
blue on
always
my.
them. We people too, and it'd be just a
No, no,
normal
no. I
everyday
know
person
I know it's us
sometimes.
people. Right, right. I know it's us people, but the fact that we have two sides, to our government is what continues the division. Is my point. Because instead of fixing our infrastructure, instead of fixing the laws for us people, they're too busy blaming each other. That's all I'm saying. That's all I
I
meant.
get that, but that's at a whole nother level. We can't allow what they're doing there. Like I had that conversation today with the particular coworker, because he was talking about, Democrats having something to say about wanting to do some kind of gun reform, I think, or something again. And I
Mhm.
said, firearm ownership is not, 2A is not a red or blue item. It's not a red or blue argument. It's only a red and blue argument in the government.
Mhm.
Right, right.
In this actual world of everyday people, it is not a red and blue argument. There are firearms in all that.
Hmm.
Red, blue, orange, purple, green, everything. Everybody, they're
Yep.
everywhere. They're not arguing that. If they want to, if that's just like for me the pro life and all that. That's
Mm.
just to me. Those are just stupid things for them to argue about. It's not the real important stuff. It's just stuff to have to be able to say, see, they don't care about babies. They just want to da 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 da.
Right.
Come on, just stop. That is not a red and blue argument. It just isn't. We got to stop arguing about the little things and pay attention to the. See, those are distractions too.
Right.
Right, right. Pay
You
attention to the
know,
big things. Yeah.
and we got to stop focusing so hard on some things. And I always, it always worry, not just worries me, but bothers me when we want to argue about things that don't affect us. Why are
Mm.
we arguing about stuff that don't affect us? Is that going to change your life? Is that going to affect your life? If it is, then you have every right to be upset about it. But if it is not going to affect how you live and however you live, whatever your it may be your Christianity or whatever it is, if it is not going to mess with the structure of your home, why do you care what that home is doing? Why do you care? I don't understand why people get so worked up about that kind of stuff. It is a way to get the vote mirror. That's why I don't like
Right.
single issue voters. I don't like that because if you're only leaning on this one issue and
Mhm.
that you're like, oh, well, they believe this, so I'm going to vote this way.
Right.
I'm not okay with that.
You're
Right.
supporting another place because they're under attack, and you're sending them funds and all that stuff. But their citizens, their government had to give their citizens firearms to go ahead and do what they had to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you look at us right now, we're in a position where we have so many things coming inside here that are not good for
Mm.
us.
Mm-hmm.
You think doing the same thing that they did would be okay? You think, look at Australia. At the end of the day, look at how their society is living. However, you know, do we hold these people accountable for anything? Do we? We just we complain. We
We
say,
just complain
but what are
because
we
they
gonna
work for
do?
us.
Right.
Your reps for your state work for you. If enough people are fussing about the same thing directly
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
that
Right.
rep's office, they are going to shift.
Right.
You're
Guess who
right.
is arguing and contacting that office? The people
Mhm.
that they are. When you feel like whoever the person is representing your state is not representing your interests, is because the people with your interests are not fussing loud enough.
Right.
Right. You got to do it in
People with
person.
the other interests.
Yeah, and you got to do it in person collectively, not just on the phone, not just on the
You can do
internet or
it on
nothing
the
like
phone
that.
if they
No, look.
continuously
Right, but let
listen.
me
You
give you
ain't
an
got to get
example
out
though.
there. It ain't that
Yeah,
serious. It's
look,
other
Gina,
ways to get it done.
I'm gonna give you one example, and this is where the Muslims, the Christians, the atheists, all of them came together when they was passing them laws in the schools down in California to force the I can't say it all because I ain't trying to mess up the channel, but
Hmm.
basically they were trying to teach the kids some not so good
Yeah.
stuff, whatever,
Hmm.
in the school. Well, the Muslims, the Christians, all of them came together outside those schools and said,
Hmm.
"Look, if you're not teaching our religion, we don't accept yours." And anyways, they got it reversed. And that's why I'm saying you
I
got to
get
do
that. I'm not saying it
it
doesn't
with the
work. I'm saying
people.
that's not the only way to make it work. Is all I'm saying.
Right, right, right.
There's you can use any way that works for you because everybody can't get out there and go. Some people just ain't mobile. You know that don't
Right.
mean your voice can't be heard. So everybody who has a voice, your voice can be heard in the way that you feel that it needs to be heard. They listen to them when they getting bombarded with the same type of phone calls. That matters too. If they getting the same kind of letters or if they accept emails, I don't know if they do. They paying attention to those too.
It's a lot.
Trust me. If it's coming in a mass majority, they gonna lean to whatever that is, because they don't really care. All they want is to just still have that seat. They
Right,
want to
life
show
for
up
money.
and that seat still have their name on it. They
Mhm.
don't really care. So tell us what you want from us so we can do that.
It's crazy. I don't know.
I just want to retire from this. That's all I want. I think we, and some of them do have agendas. Don't get me wrong. Every politician that's there is not there because they just want to have the name and notoriety. Some
They've
of them
been
have
there
an
too long.
agenda.
They're in there too long. You
Mm-hmm.
gotta, it should be free flowing. You know, once your time is up, next person in. Because
I
if you
agree.
let them stay too long, they start wheeling and dealing, and now you
Mm-hmm.
owe me, and now it's, oh, I owe them. I really can't do it. What's right for the people, or they got me on this. With, however, the bottom line is something got to change. We keep going through the
uh,
same over and over,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Sometimes some of them are walking into stuff that didn't have nothing to do with them, but because of the position that they hold, they got to follow through because
Exactly.
that's the norm,
right.
Tell me
right?
what you want me to do,
Right,
and I'm gonna do it.
right. There was a lot.
Yep.
They were
Hey,
having an
David.
argument. I think they were in regards to terminations, right,
Mm-hmm.
of a fetus, and the people that were arguing on behalf of it, it blew my mind because she said they didn't respond to the baby as a child. They said it was a parasite, right?
Oh
And
my.
I found it so interesting because these were younger women, and I'm like, a parasite. There's like, yeah, it feeds off the host. No, that's not how that
What
works.
the?
Like, who is teaching you? Like, what is going on
But
here?
you know what? I
They're
these
they're
younger
gone.
folks
Yeah,
are different, different. I don't know what they be
and it's
what
two
they
females. I'm like, what
you
are
know
you? Have
what
you
they be
ever been
learning the
through it?
information from
Right,
TikTok. They
right.
learn
Yeah.
the information on these social platforms from somebody who is
Mhm.
just out
Yes,
there and they take
hmm
it as truth.
they said it was
Yeah.
parasitic, and it's invading the body of the host. What? Well, your immune
That's a,
system gets better when you're pregnant because the baby is making your immune system
yeah. Ooh, y'all look better too.
grow.
Ooh.
It's part of you that's growing. Like, how's that a host? A parasite is something that attaches to something. A baby doesn't attach to you; it grows from you. What is your teacher teaching you in school? Because
Girl,
it's not
I
even
can't
those
even
are
up and shake my
kids.
head because some of the stuff I see from these younger folks, I just be like,
Right,
oh,
right, exactly. I was like, what? Your science teacher, your biology teacher, your health,
we
everybody's
are
like,
being failed.
where are they
We
right
are failing the younger generation.
now? It was,
And a lot of times it's because somebody is just not having the conversations. Like kids
Thank
question,
you.
they question a lot of things. My 14-year-old asks me questions all the time. Are all the questions comfortable? No. But we still gonna have the conversation. And if I don't know the answer, I'd be like, let's try to figure it out. Let's see if we can find it. Find the information to figure out
Right.
the answer to what you're asking me. Because I don't know everything.
Right.
Listen, I'm
And
still
to me,
living.
yeah, washing the dishes. Like, wait, what she say? Just, yeah, these are two college age females, and I'm like, get if you don't cut their mic right now. But yeah, and they were arguing this in front of a group of people. I was like, this is insane. But
right.
this is like, talk to your kids, tell them the truth. Don't even sugarcoat it.
Tell them the
No,
truth. You know,
yeah,
you don't have to.
right.
Yeah,
Hmm.
you don't have
And
to.
If
for
that's
me,
she's a parasite, and her friend standing next to her is a parasite. At one time, you were a
yep.
parasite, you idiot. At the end of the day, have at
They parasites to the other kids. And for me, that is my biggest prep. That is my most important prep is my children because it's not us that the peripheral them or they are. You know what I mean? It's not us that they want. It's them. Look at. I mean, if you think about your child at your age, right?
it.
So
Mhm,
my babies, my youngest is 11, and I got a 17-year-old daughter. So I'm trying to
mhm.
think of them. What's the United States going to look like when they're 40
I
years old? Are they
know.
going to be prepared for this, whatever? You know what I mean? So my biggest prep is to limit their devices, to limit their screen time, and to be able to have conversations. I'm not saying strict, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. I taught my babies at a young age, no social media. And once you get older, you'll understand it. My daughter became mature enough, actually, when she was 16, to get a social media account. And she's like, Dad, I don't want one. I already see what happens. I'm not gonna. I got no need to take a picture to show the world how nice my butt is. That don't make no sense to me.
I mean,
But
but that,
that's because
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was
Finish.
just saying that's because I taught her at a young age. I just instilled those thoughts. Like, you got something, you ask me. Don't go ask your friend that don't even know. I can't say that, but don't go ask your friends that are confused. That are confused learning stuff off of TikTok. Come and ask me. Come ask your mom. I don't care if you're embarrassed. You know what I mean? I'll tell you some embarrassing things that I thought of or I did when I was young. You
Mm-hmm.
got to have that relationship with them, but prep your kids, guys, because that's the most, to me, that's the most important. And that's why we prep food, water, all that other stuff, because we don't
Yeah.
want our kids hurting. Right now in 2023, we don't want our kids' mentalities hurt. We don't
Yeah.
want them confused. We want them to be themselves. I'm sorry,
Mm-hmm.
go ahead.
But I think that we have to expose them to it. We don't want them to be ignorant of what's
Hmm.
going on, but it does come with a responsibility of explaining things to them and ensuring that you're instilling, like, listen, that's not how that works. This is what it is. This is how this, works out. Expose them to certain things because, God forbid, something happens to you. And now they're like, well, no, my parents said that that's not true. I don't know what that is. I don't know. Everything is going digital. Everything is going to be online. Your
Mm-hmm.
your stores are everything is coming online.
Yeah.
Everything you do, either
Yep.
your phone, your computer, they have to have that knowledge. You just have to be aware of what they're doing, monitor what they're doing, explain it, even though you may not want to explain it. Kids now, they're at a young age, they're way more advanced than how we were when we were growing up. They
Yeah.
want to know everything. Sometimes they could tell you stuff and you're like, wait, how did you know that? Like, how did you know that?
That happens
You're
a
looking it
lot.
up. Right.
A lot, and they're forming a generation that has no limits, and it's screwing them up from relationships to
Right.
everything. I can't even imagine. And I'm sorry, ladies, but I can't even imagine as a young man, 13, 14-year-old, being able to have the whole entire world of lust right in front of my face. That is scary. Excuse me, but that is scary dangerous for me because I got an 11-year-old that's getting ready to go into that world. I know women are different than men, but it's like that's not what God wants for us. He doesn't, because when you grow up as a young male, when you're growing up, you're seeing all these things on your phone. You're looking at the lady that you might think might be your wife or whatever, but you're expecting her to do all kind of stuff, put on a panda suit and wear this and wear and do that, and it completely ruins their whole mind, and that's why you see couples, walking around not even looking at each other, holding hands. They're just looking at their phones, walking next to each other. You can tell they together, but they're not even, they're not. You guys understand what I mean? And,
When
and
you
that's the,
set boundaries with everything. If you have dinner, I think Eric and I was talking about this the other day. Was it Erica? I'm not sure, but I was talking to somebody. You have blackout moments where there's no cell phones.
yes,
It's just
yes.
conversation. Have that time where you can only be on there to play your game from XYZ. I mean, we had those rules growing up. You can watch TV. Our
Well,
computer with TVs. Now they have computer, cell phones, everything. But at the end of the day, you have to have limits with them. But
Yeah.
when you have when the phone and the computer and the TV is babysitting your child because you're working two, three jobs,
Facts.
it's kind of hard to, you know,
Facts.
monitor things. But yeah, but
Facts.
it's
I
again,
make it a point every day
mhm,
to put everything down and spend time with my daughter every day. Like I always I have
mhm,
always been that mom. Like I sit down, I watch what
right,
she's
right.
watching.
Mhm.
She's playing a game on her phone. I act like I don't care really what they're doing, but I'm like, what did I miss? What
Mhm.
happened next? What did they do? Oh, they guilty. I think they
Yeah.
did it. I'm all involved. Don't care, but that's
Mhm.
what you do because those, first of all, those are core memories. I feel
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
and so I've always done that with both my girls.
It teaches them how to interact with people because sometimes you
Mhm.
get kids and they don't say anything the whole time you're there, and you're like, "Are you okay?" Like,
I'm
and they're
so
just
sick
right.
of her.
stuck in the phone. You have to. teach them to have a gift gap conversation. All of their
I knew Erica had one. I'm just saying. I knew she had one.
She don't. I know she don't. She's full of it.
I happened something on my Instagram, and the lady took her son to the bank, and the lady in the bank asked, "What's your social?" And he was talking. He thought she was talking about
This
Instagram.
social media.
I laughed, but I called my son. I said, "You know what a social security number is, right?" Like, of course I do. I was like, "I'm just checking. I'm just checking." I for the life of me, he's driving a car and he does not know what a social security card
What's
number.
funny is I saw that where the mom was telling that story, and the funny part is that he thought she meant his social media. But say social media wasn't around.
Mhm.
I was grown before I knew. I was 18 before I memorized my full social.
Hey,
Mhm.
I
me
had
too.
my
Yeah.
mama there. What I need to know my social for? Mama, what's my
Right. Right.
social?
Right.
So I don't see that to be that odd that a
Mhm.
child would know it at under 18 and under. Some kids do, don't get me wrong. But
Okay.
listen, I didn't because my mama filled out all this stuff.
It's a
Mama,
different
what's
era.
my social?
They can't do nothing without a social security a social security
Hmm.
number at this point in time. But it's just crazy. It's just simple things. You may not remembered it, but you knew you had a social security a social
I
security.
did know I had one.
Right. You
Yes.
might not remember the numbers, but and that's when you'd be like,
Yes.
"Mom, what's my social security number?" You know, or Dad,
Yeah.
what's that? But you knew what it was. This guy was like Instagram. Like, no, that's not what that
Listen,
is.
I was
It's
taking
just
my
crazy.
daughter and her cousin on a college tour when she graduated high school. She's 27 now, but this when she graduated. And I made a comment about them needing a phone for the landline. And she was like, "What's a landline?"
What's the
And that's part of
I said,
prepping.
"I have failed you as a mother."
Part of being prepared is making sure your kids knows all these things memory wise. You know, make them
Hmm.
write it down like you used to have to write your name 50,000 times until your penmanship was correct. Write your social security number, your date of birth, what's your
Hmm.
mom's date of birth, what's your, you know, you might have different parents, what's their address, that their phone might not be charged. You know, you might not have the ability to look into your phone and say, oh, yeah, you know, this number. Back in the
Hmm.
day, we had everybody's number memorized
We
just
did.
out of our head. Now
We did.
we go straight to the
Listen,
phone.
I have two in my head, my husband and my oldest. I don't even memorize my youngest number.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
that's because she's never anywhere that she's always with,
Hmm.
somewhere where I can get in touch with her anyway. But
right?
Yeah.
But that's an important prep too. Like all your documents, social security card, birth certificate,
oh, I
laminate them.
know
Get it.
that stuff. Yeah, I have all that
Get
stuff,
them
and it's all
or
in the
not
same.
laminate them, but yeah, get them in a plastic cover and keep them in your safe. Keep them next to your guns. Keep them to
Hmm.
where you know you can grab them.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Just in case. There's all
Yep,
kinds of situations that you may need them, but
absolutely.
prep
Drills
those
are,
up.
yeah. Doing drills with your family, you know, remember you used to do fire drills
I
when
Yep.
know. Yeah.
Hmm.
doing a bug out drill, you know, even just not from the home, like, listen, go to school, listen, tell the teacher, I'm gonna call your teacher, tell you you gotta leave at Quincy, meet me at the rally point, whatever you decide is the place that you
Right.
want to meet up. Just so they have a habit, it'll be like instinct if something does happen. Because when chaos and kids are running all over the place, you have adults telling them, come here, come here. Your kid is like, nah, my parents meet me here, I'm out of here.
Yep.
Going. You gotta
I'm
give
like
them.
you, bougie. I need to do better. She's like, I need to work on that, C, because C says how many people know at least three most important phone numbers in their, people in their circle. I just told you I know two by heart.
Yeah, I do know three.
I
That's
don't
about
know my brothers. I don't know
Once
my mother-in-laws. I don't know any of those numbers by heart.
yeah.
once you go to jail, you'll figure it out real quick. Like, oh man, I don't know nobody's
I'm calling
number.
my husband or my daughter. They better come.
I can remember like your phone number if you give it to me now, but I still remember my grandmother's phone number from when I was growing up.
Facts.
When I
I
When
was
as
know
a
my
kid, me
phone
too.
number when I
Me
was
too.
growing up. I
yeah.
know
Yeah.
my mama's phone number when she was
Hmm.
dead before she passed. I know my aunt's phone number. I don't know, but that's the old me. The new me don't remember phone numbers.
Right.
Great.
So right, you know what I mean. So write them down. You know what I mean. That
Mhm.
there's a prep right there. Write the important numbers down just in case.
Yes. Our
Mhm.
elders
Um.
still do that.
Yeah.
Oh
Our
yeah.
elders still do that. I went to my cousin's because she had a surgery. She's my mom's first cousin, and I had took her some preps so she could have food to eat because she doesn't really cook. And I needed one of my cousin's phone numbers that doesn't live here, and she pulled out this book, and I was like, what is?" But our elders, they do. They have the name, just like old school, the name, the address,
Rolodex.
the phone number.
I have my grandmother's Bible. She has everybody, Sister Blue, Pastor so so, all the clergy,
Yes,
to everything in that
yes,
Bible. It- Their date of birth, everything. It's the craziest
yes.
thing. You
Hey,
you would not
Maureen, Diva in the dirt.
hi, you would not see
Yes,
it without that Bible. So that was her phone book, her
yes.
everything book.
Hey, that's another prep, guys.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We just it just fell on us. That seriously is. That's another prep. Write down those important phone numbers and also have that in your wherever maybe even in your bug out or your safe, um, or both.
You can get
You
a jump
know
drive and put all that information on there and just stick it in different, bug out bags.
exactly.
So
Oh.
somebody always has access to everything. You want to keep
Yes,
your
because it
insurance
doesn't only
there.
help you. If I come across you and you're hurt, I'm pointing at you,
Mhm.
Carmen,
Yeah.
and I go through your bag and I find phone numbers. I have people I can reach out to. Like I'm here with this lady, and she's heard, and these numbers was in her, bag, and I can describe you to them. They're like, oh, that's my sister, cousin, daughter,
Right.
friend,
Right.
whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and they can get there. Like, I know my mom used to carry her medications that she was on in her purse, written down, so that anytime she went into the hospital, she didn't have to tell them, I'm on this, this, and this. We could just pull the little card out that had everything on it and hand it to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's another thing you can have written down somewhere. If you're on medications,
Right.
everything that you're on, the dosage that you take, and
Mm-hmm.
have that somewhere where someone can find that if necessary.
Yeah. Ray
Yeah.
Fisher
Cause
point at EMP could take those numbers useless. Everything either digital is going to be fried.
yep.
Have both just in case we don't have an EMP and that's all you have. You pop it in and you can keep going. And you should keep an actual manual in a waterproof, fireproof
Yeah,
container, and keep it with you at all times. Put some
yeah,
in all the bags just in case we get separated. And somebody has a child, they could be like, oh, okay,
yeah,
this is what it is. If they can't remember or if they're injured and they can't talk,
yeah.
in the bag you can find out who they are. And
Facts.
Right.
Because most of our phones are protected in one way: fingerprint, face like
Man,
recognition,
skip all that. But yeah.
passwords,
yeah.
just different things. So it's not like if you get an accident, somebody could just access your phone and call someone.
Hmm.
That's usually not going to be an option.
Right.
Right. And especially with EMP, that's what I was gonna bring up too, is they have,
True.
little sections on your phone to where you can put all that information in, but an EMP, your battery's out. Your phone gets
Mm-hmm.
crushed in a car accident or whatever. It's good to have those things on your person. And I recommend not just the phone numbers, but addresses as well, especially if you have families in that certain area and it's a SHTF or whatever, and you got this little girl and this mom and they're stuck out in public. Where do I take them? Okay, oh, you got an address here. This must be a family member because you got an address right here. Let me try to get you to this certain spot because there might
Mm-hmm.
not be phones because landlines, at least back in our days, landlines always worked when the power went out.
Yeah,
These days, I'm not 100% sure how it works because
I
in
agree.
the
It
city
might
next
be
to
more
me,
digital.
right? Well, they moved to digital in the city next to me because that's where my dad lived. He still got an old rotary phone, right? And
Yeah,
I was talking to him, and I could barely understand him because it was all. And I'm like, "What is wrong with your phone?" He's like, "Oh, they moved it to digital, but I still have an old phone, and it doesn't. They don't, they're they don't work together." And I'm like, "Well, why don't you get a new phone? I don't want that digital bullshit." So if you don't like it, I will just, talk some other way, but this is how it works.
Yeah,
But yeah, the landlines are mostly going to digital as well. So I don't even know if they'll work. power outage and stuff like that.
Something wrong
Oh,
with that.
this girl.
I'll be right back.
Okay. Joe, by you finally pulled up.
Oh
Finally,
man, yeah, we
we
needed you
was
early.
looking for you over an hour ago. Where you been, fam? And you text him, and he just now showing up. Don't act like you was busy working. But yeah, so that actually those are two things. I'm not on any medication, so I wouldn't need to do that. But I don't. I'm that's my homework assignment to write down phone numbers and addresses and carry them, have them in different
Right.
places that I would need them.
Well, it goes
Possibly.
on what right, but it goes on what you were saying earlier with, everybody had the shelter in place and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're a very sick country. We're probably the sickest country in the world on the amount of
True.
medications that we take, in our population, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
imagine out of, let's say, the 20,000, 30,000 people that are locked down or whatever, they probably need insulin or,
Uh-huh.
even down to, going to the methadone clinic every day. There's
Yeah.
certain medications that you have to go to the doctor every day for or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Those are important things for you just to get at least a week. I mean, if you can, a 6 month supply, but if it's something, obviously that you got to go every day, it's going to be kind of hard to get a few months supply, but work on it. Ask your doctor, be like, "Hey man, is there a way that I could be self-sufficient and get a 3 month script instead of just a 1 month script?" And just have those tucked away in your preps just in case a lockdown situation. Because I ain't heard of lockdowns since 2020 happened, right? And now
Mm-hmm.
since 2020 happened, there has been multiple times where states and cities have used that situation to where like, all right, everybody shelter in place. Like it's becoming more and more common to shelter in place.
Yeah.
So I think it should be more common for people to prepare for sheltering in place. And that's only one example, but
Mm-hmm.
be self-sufficient so you ain't got to panic. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because that's the whole point is you want to avoid panicking. Like, oh
Yeah.
my God, how am I gonna get some insulin? Like if you see the most recent movies like World War Z or what's the other one? The Greenland, where they had a child with a medical condition. One of them had asthma, they had to get to the store. The other one had needed insulin, they had to go to the store. Come on now, y'all. You know the criminals gonna hit the pharmacies first. I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be like the main currency when everything goes crazy is drugs. So just, prepare yourself.
Yeah.
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 Can
True.
you imagine like if any one of those people had I'm sorry, a tourniquet, one of them the three people that died on the way to the hospital might have still been alive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like something the importance of something like a tourniquet, just keeping that on,
Mm-hmm.
having that just in case. You may
Mm-hmm.
never use it, but if you did have to use it, you know how to use it, you know how to apply it.
Yes.
You can
Right.
like being a
Yeah.
hero doesn't mean attacking the person with the firearm or the person
Yep.
that's causing the chaos. Being a hero
You
could
could be
just be the person
saving
saving
a life. Yeah.
everybody else that's
Hmm.
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. Having
Good.
When
enough
that
awareness to go and stop a bleed, stop the bleed,
right.
if
Yeah.
necessary.
Yeah,
um CPR,
yeah. Just
having some
take those
CPR training.
classes. That TECC, those classes are coming out all over
Mhm.
the community. That's a great skill to
It
have.
is.
Especially like in this incident, because that's exactly what you would probably be using it for.
Yeah.
It's going to take a time. It's going to take time for the ambulance to get there, and then the hospital is
Yeah.
such a small. It's not small, but it's a small town. They might not
Yes.
be equipped to deal with that amount of
Yes.
casualties coming in on top of everything else that they have going on. So you
Right.
Hmm.
can really set up, triage the most severe people and then work your way through the crowd to the less severe people. But you can actually save lives if you have the skill set behind you. So
Yep.
Yeah. And even if they had more than 17 cops, let's say it was a metropolitan city where they had thousands of cops and EMTs and all that, they wouldn't go in the situation until it's safe for them to go in the situation.
Yep.
So you
Somebody
got
said
a
that
whole
towards the beginning. Yep, you're right.
right. So you got to be
I
able. I
think
mean, you got
Steve
a
said
lot of time on your hands, and
that.
just knowing how to make even just a make. You don't even have to have one on you. Knowing how to make a makeshift tourniquet
Yep,
can save somebody's life. I
yep,
seen that happen with the and I don't want to say the name, but that shooting during all the riots and stuff, right? Dude, I watched the dude get his arm shot off, and the guy that was live streaming it, he actually went and made a makeshift tourniquet for dude's arm and saved his stuff. You know
yep,
what I mean? And it's important just to know your surroundings and what you can
yep,
use to help save somebody or yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I
yep,
mean? I think we're in a selfish society. I don't think people want to help other people, but I think it's more important that we do. I think our generation does, but we're going. You know, I think it's more than self, or I think it's more than fight and flight. It's more like I got to just protect myself, which is
yeah,
dangerous. You know, to each his own. I'm not throwing
It's
stones,
it's more,
but
I gotta get it on this so I can get this.
exactly. I gotta get clout. Shoot, I'm finna. This is gonna go viral. Blah blah blah
hmm
blah blah. And
yeah,
we gotta protect each other, man,
You're right, Joe.
at all costs.
They well, I wouldn't say they're not required to protect. They do their that's their job to serve and protect, but they're there to assess the situation and follow the guidelines of the law when it comes to it. So you before they even get there, you got to figure out how you're going to get out of this or how you're going to address this or how what moves you're going to make before they even get there. You by the time they get there, you might be unalive, you might be injured, they might or the person that's causing the issue might be unalive or injured. Now you
yep,
got to go through the whole
Right.
process of
yep.
now.
And
Now
even
you're
you as the injured
left.
party, having the awareness to talk somebody through helping you.
Right,
Say you you are bleeding out. I need you to do this. I need you to tie
right.
this tight. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna scream, but that's how you know you're doing it tight enough. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is, try to talk them through it. Like if you're a person that's been trained, you can help the person that's
Mm-hmm.
trying to help you.
You can let them know.
That's the
Listen, this is
problem.
gonna
Sometimes
hurt.
nobody's been trained, and they have. I was researching that here,
Mm-hmm.
and there's some townships and communities here who do it for free in their community, like once a month.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that's really nice. Now, of course, it's probably something that someone went through something and they gathered together this whole thing of getting people in the community involved. But I'm like, that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
And so they're doing it for free. They're doing the CPR training.
Mm-hmm.
I think they even had the Stop the Bleed.
Stop
And
this.
I'm like, that's pretty nice that you, because some of them, I know the CPR, it can run anywhere from probably 25 to up to 50, depending on
Yeah.
who you contact for. Because the fire departments in some cities do it, different places. I mean, you can usually Google for your state and you'll find a lot of stuff that comes back. But, it's out there. My job pays for me to get certified because I'm one of the people in
Wow.
my
Mhm.
office who
Right.
is accepted the responsibility to, if something happens, to that I would be someone who would step in. So it depends on the person. And if you do the training, you know it's not an easy thing to do. CPR is hard. It's hard. It's not so much that it's hard, it's exhausting.
Which brings you to physical,
It's a very physical thing.
your
Yeah.
physical activity, getting in shape, being able to deal. Well, first of all, when your adrenaline starts going, your blood pressure goes up.
Mhm.
It's a
Yep,
lot going on, and you really got to be
yep,
prepared for all of that. You might not
yep.
feel it at that point in time, but you're gonna feel it after. You might even pass out because you're not.
Child, 10 minutes of CPR.
Yeah,
Just in
no,
10 minutes, the response time that they said it took for those cops to get there.
you might be compressing that chest, but then when it's time to blow that air, I know they don't do that anymore. But just saying, some people go back to
They
old.
actually do.
Right.
They just use the covering. Like I have it's
Mm-hmm.
like a little shield between you and them.
Hmm.
But
You still got to blow that air. If you don't have no lung capacity
Right.
to blow that air into the breath of life into them, then what you're gonna do. It is
yeah,
tiring. And then if you have a mass casualty, you know how many times you have to do that? Yeah.
one time is
Right.
a lot, and
Yeah.
one time by yourself is a lot. The hope is that
Mhm.
you don't have to do it by yourself and you can tag off with someone
Mhm.
else where you could catch your breath and get, get yourself together and then give them a break and then you go back
Yep.
until help arrives. But
Mhm. And if you're
yeah,
serious, if blood, if you pass out from seeing the sight of blood or arm blown off or, you know, bullet holes or a knife is like so ridiculous. You have to have a strong stomach. There's a lot of things that you're gonna encounter in a mass casualty that if you're not ready for it, you're gonna be like, well, wait a minute,
yeah,
I can't do this. And then
yeah.
everybody's so paranoid with all of the diseases running around here. They're kind of like, do I want to do that? Do I want to
On
get
top of the legal stuff too, yeah.
I
Like
mean,
that.
stuff. I mean,
That's
if
true
me saving your life, I'll deal with that later. But
Right.
if I can save it, then I'm going to save it.
and see, with training, they say you ask the person, is
Right.
it okay? I mean, if they're alert, you
Right.
ask, is it okay? I'm CPR trained. Is it okay? Well, see,
Mhm.
usually if you're giving CPR, they're not conscious. So,
Right.
You might break a rib giving CPR.
oh, you
Right.
should
Yeah, you
be.
might mess. Yeah.
You absolutely should be.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They say if
And
you don't, you ain't doing it right,
Yeah.
which is scary. And I think for me, um, I I think I can handle it, but if it was a child, I probably would be no good. That's where my limit is. I can't see children. I'm too. I would hope that I could pull it together, but
I think you could. I think
whew,
you're just outside looking in,
I think you're
I
and
know it just breaks
you're
my heart so
internalizing
bad to
it.
see a
When
child.
situations happen, you step up,
Uh,
step up. You
and you
too.
don't even have to be trained for it. A human being will step up, especially when it comes to
hmm
children.
No, I would step up, but I don't know how well I would hold up throughout the process. I would be a whole wreck. I think I could be more focused with an adult, but with a child, I probably have tears falling into whatever's going on into the situation.
Nah. Has any of your babies ever choked when they was little?
Not you mean like where I had to unlodge something, choke?
Yeah, yeah.
No.
See, I've been through that. Like I always thought the same as Eugenia, and like my baby, man, he started choking. I don't know what it was, a Cheerio, piece of fruit, something. But he was
Mhm.
turning. I'm like, oh hell no! And my wife's,
Mhm.
oh my god, man! I shoved my finger down his throat and grabbed that little piece of food. I mean, I don't know
Mhm.
if that was the right way, but I mean, he started breathing. But it was.
Now
But
that
my
I
point
can deal
is,
with.
I
It's
went
the
into tunnel vision. My
yeah.
point is in that reaction, you're in tunnel vision. Like, okay, I gotta get this. There's no assessing nothing. You just go and make and get it done.
Right.
On the CPR stuff though, I wanted to add something.
Mhm.
They have laminated pamphlets as well. So if you are, let's say you, what we do is we keep them with those phone numbers, those addresses, and stuff like that. We have some laminated CPR, choking first aid, how to make a
Mhm.
tourniquet. I mean, yeah, I believe everybody needs to be trained and stuff, but if you're trained and you have other people with you, and you don't want to sit there and say, okay, you do this, you do, look, man, here, take this, look at this, do what you need to do. At least it's an option is basically what I'm thinking.
Mhm.
You'd be
Mhm.
surprised what you'll do in a
Right.
situation like that.
Yeah.
AEDs are
Yeah.
great. My first time
They
using
are.
one, my hand was
Mhm.
shaking so bad, but
Yeah.
you're looking at the person, you like get this on them and get it together.
Yes.
You got to start talking to yourself or
Yep.
just take a moment to take a deep breath and then get back in the fight. Knife fights to me are the worst. I mean, you'll see skin, bone, everything. It's
Mhm.
squirting out, blood is hitting you all over the place, but you
Yeah.
still have to remain. I think the most important thing is just to remain calm. As crazy as that sounds, the calmer you,
Yeah.
Yes.
the easier
Yes.
things will come back to you, and then you can move. If you get
True.
excited and all crazy, you're gonna lose it. They're gonna lose it because they see you wigging out. Sometimes you
Yep.
just calm down.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
See, that's the crazy part about it is the person that's usually all messed up because I've been stabbed and beaten in a situation to where there was blood, sweat, all that. Not trying to get graphic, but I was calm is my point because I didn't realize my brother was calm until I told him, "Hey man, you bleeding all over the place," and he looked down like it's almost like people when they get into these situations, they're in shock once it first happens.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not paying attention to the adrenaline. They're not paying attention to, oh my God, I need to freak out. So it's very important for you yourself, the person that's helping them, to not freak out, to not call attention to
Hmm.
the mass amount of stuff you got to deal with.
Can you highlight what Ray official just said?
The mask and casualty one.
Yes, because that, you know, when you're in something like that, sometimes you'll walk up to a bunch of people and you're looking at them and you'll walk away and they're like, "Where are you going?" Like, no, stay here. You have to assess people in a situation very quickly. You can't be like, well, hey, listen, you have to figure out who's the worst, get them out first. Move one to the
Hmm.
second worst,
Hmm.
until you get down to the people that they're okay. They're hurt, but they're okay. They'll be fine. Those people that really
Hmm.
need to be out of that area or on the ambulance immediately, that's who you have to get to first. He's absolutely right. And sometimes
Hmm.
it's a hard decision because it might be people that and you're like,
Yeah.
listen, I'll be back. I gotta go take care of them, or I gotta get them out first. It's
Yeah.
rough.
Right.
Sometimes it's not
Yeah.
the people. Sometimes because people when they get, when they're afraid, they freeze up. And
Yeah.
sometimes you just can't stay in one place. You got to stick and move. You got to be like, listen, let's get to the next point. Then we got to get to the next point. You got to get to the next point. They're stuck in fear.
Yep.
These are things you're going to come across. And walking away from somebody, you have to kind of a little bit harden your heart because you're trying to save other people.
True.
If you can go
Yeah.
back, then yay, by all
Yeah.
means. But if not, get out of there as fast as you can.
True.
Yeah.
Hey, you right, Joval. We was talking right before you came in about having the physical copies though. The manuals and stuff like that. You're not gonna be able to always get to your cell phone
Mhm.
Hmm.
and load stuff. I have SD card. I have hard drives and SD cards filled with PDFs of
Hmm.
even how to grow tomatoes. You know what I mean? That's in my PDF as well that I could pop into my tablet or my old phone that I have prepped up. But I mean, it's not for me, but it's for somebody. But at the same time, EMP you never know what kind of situation. No electronics. You got to have those physical copies.
Mhm. You know what's another thing? You're right,
I
Joe.
don't
Another
know.
thing, look for those ID bracelets that's saying they're allergic to whatever it is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
they might be allergic to because
Yeah.
you're helping somebody, but you're actually killing them.
Yeah.
Pay attention to jewelry when people have it on, especially has that Red Cross thing on there. Flip it over,
Yeah.
read it, try it, and if you have an issue where you need to wear one of those bracelets, please put them on so that people can help you the right way. I'm sorry, Bridget, that's the first I think
Facts.
is allergic, right? Mm-hmm.
I don't know the difference between the two types of bleeding.
Um, so Joe Bob, why don't you come up here since you want to spout all
He
that
is.
non
He
big
just tapped in.
okay.
yeah.
Hey, what's up? Hey, thanks for having me in.
Thank you for coming.
No, so one of the things that you can also look at, and I think on a couple, well, shit, probably about 6 months ago, when you guys was doing the lives with the bunker situation and everything else. So
Hmm.
from a patient standpoint, if you have if you can afford two phones, so one phone is your phone you use and the other phone is like an emergency phone. It's not locked. It has all your pertinent information on it, like Carbon Q said, the ID bracelets. Right
Mhm.
now with technology, you can go and create a QR code with all your emergency information on it. You can put it in your wallet. You can put it in different places because most people got cell phones, they can scan it. A lot of EMTs and police departments, they go around with electronic devices and everything else that read a RFID chip that reads barcodes, QR codes, and everything else because you can put all
Hmm.
your medical information on that. Next to kin, any allergies, any known allergies, everything else. Um, in the civilian world, it's a little bit different than it is like in the military or police world because you have mechanisms to know what your allergens are, like your medical history, everything else. When walking up on a civilian site, first thing you got to do is assess. Are they bleeding? Are they breathing? Are they conscious? Right? Then go from there. Your mass casualties are bad because your mass casualty could be a chemical event, a biological event, or it could just be a shooting. or explosion, right? Think about the Boston Marathon bombing, right? Got a
Mhm.
lot of stuff going on
Mhm.
there. If you don't have the stomach for it, it's going to freak you out. Even if you do have the stomach for it, it might take you out of your game for a minute. You got to get back in it.
Mhm.
Time
Yeah.
is of the essence. Um, we have this thing that we call a golden hour. Like if someone gets hurt, if you can get them to more available or a higher level of medical care within an hour, the odds of them surviving is like 90%. Biggest thing that kills people is loss of blood, right? You can control
Yeah.
that bleed, um, they'll be okay. Walking up on a mass casualty, say a car accident, right? MVA, motor vehicle accident. You got to assess it. You got to extricate people from vehicles. You don't have a whole bunch. You don't have a very robust first aid kit with you. That's just the facts. Most people don't. I don't have IV bags. I don't have chest seals, needle decompression, stuff like that. So there's very
Mhm.
limited things you can do with first aid. Um, it happens. Uh,
Yeah.
was that Q said about seeing blood and freaking out,
Mhm.
seeing like meat hanging off of people's bones, seeing legs semi-detached, everything else. There's only a
Hmm.
certain amount of stuff you can do,
Yeah.
um, and it's yeah. Also knowing the different types of blood or bleeding, right? If
Yes.
it's dark red, is it oxygenated? That means that they got arterial blood. Is it squirting? Is it pulsating? You got to control that because they're going to bleed out. What
Okay.
type of wound and where is the wound, right?
Mhm.
You got to know if something's sticking out of someone's chest or arm, don't pull it out.
Yeah, right.
Pack it, immobilize it, put a seal around it. Sometimes we try to pull stuff out, you do more harm than good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
Wow. Hey, Jovo.
yes, sir.
So when you say, and you'll have to put it in layman's terms, I guess, but when you say two types of bleeding, so basically, like let's say I cut my hand and it's just bleeding everywhere, that's going to be different than if I cut my wrist on an accident and I hit one of my arteries, right? It's like
Yes, yeah,
artery bleeding and then
yeah,
regular bleeding, right?
yeah. So like
Okay.
you can tell like if you got a laceration, like a superficial wound, and it's just like the blood's just pulling up, it's not too deep. Really
All
wouldn't
right.
worry about that. Like when someone gets a real deep cut, and like when they move, or if you notice like every time your heart beats, that blood squirts out. Now you got a problem.
Oh, okay.
You
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
know,
That's what I thought you meant.
yeah. So
Appreciate that.
also quick clot. All these bandages like wound packing, right? So you got quick clots, you got all this stuff to pack a wound. You got to know how to use that stuff because that only works for like superficial wounds. If you got a deep wound, like if someone hits your femoral artery, quick clot ain't gonna do shit for you. Um,
Uh-oh, did we lose you? Crap.
Thank you. Uzi, that's called the Lucky Tag medical bracelet.
Yeah. You
It's,
got that picture still, Carver?
yeah,
You want to
Where
show
was
us
that at?
again?
Is that on Amazon or did you
from,
just Google it?
from Amazon. It's like
Mm.
15.99. They have a 5% coupon on it. I don't know if you can see it. Oops. There you go.
Yeah, my apologies for that. Anybody have any other questions and everything else? Any general questions? And like, if you do, if you can think of them, either get with Gigi, and I think Gigi has my IG and everything else, and
Mm.
just hit them back because I got access to um, the TECC, right? Tactical Emergency Combat Care, and how
Okay.
to
All
update it and everything else. Everything from if you have to get into pushing fluids on someone, i.e., giving someone an IV, how to do that, right? Because
right.
I mean,
Mhm.
I'm assuming a lot of us had IVs, and we know how sometimes, or had a shot, we know how sometimes they can hit a vein and they can miss them, right?
Right.
Um,
Mhm.
just everything from pushing fluids to pushing meds and everything else. So,
I'm just
So,
remember Erica.
oh hell no!
oh man,
Yeah,
she got
I
the
told you
mask
guys.
on,
I
boy.
told y'all she had
I
a
just had
panic
to say
switch.
I had to go because I'm cooking and stuff. and
Hey,
See how that
I heard
man
panther.
was-
Oh, sorry.
Is he not? I cannot.
hey,
What
Gigi.
is he over there
Oh
doing?
no, Billy,
It's
no,
working.
Billy, no. Look, I hope
I don't
this
I
want
is
to know.
just
because
say
of
we got
Mhm.
I
Hey,
hope this
hey,
is because of
Gigi, your
Halloween,
live,
y'all.
your live just went left,
we gotta
Gigi.
go get
Who
Alex.
did?
Oh
Boy,
no.
boy, hey, actually, Gigi, you know your new name is Cuffs and Collars, right?
Oh no. Look, man,
Uh,
they got
Don't
look.
even tell people why.
I just
Don't
saying.
tell people why. If they wasn't there, they don't get to know why.
hey, Erica, you know you guys know this is YouTube, not OnlyFans, right?
I was gonna say, Joe,
Right.
while they got their own OnlyFans and every man.
That's
Look,
what I'm
I'm not
talking
No.
about.
putting them on there like,
I,
Then they, yeah, that's
I knew there was a reason why I brought up the panda
look
suit.
at you,
Oh
the
Lord.
CEO. Billy's the CEO.
I
Oh,
cannot.
come on,
I
man.
cannot.
Before
Wrong with that girl.
Look.
these, oh my
Right,
God.
Urban? Right, you're right.
Look,
Hey guys, I'm out, man. I need
hold on,
Jesus.
I
I
thought
just
Jova.
you
need a
was
Jesus
joking
break.
too.
Hey, Jova.
What's
I
up?
mean, if you press for time, then by all means, I'm sorry. I
No,
didn't mean to
no, it's
keep
a
you.
joke, man.
All
Gigi
right,
know
all
what I'm
right.
talking about.
So,
I need a
so
Jesus break right now.
hey, look, hey, for real. For
All
hallowed
right,
be thy
guys.
name.
Boy,
But no, I had a question because earlier we were talking about and this is why we were wondering where you were, is we were talking about the shelter in place while there's a manhunt going on and stuff, right? And the discussion that Gina was having, and it kind of progressed into, medical stuff and all that, but was basically prepping and what to do during certain situations. And we were curious as to what you think we should all have in our houses for preps, just in case we have a similar situation to where our state is locked down, shelter in place, there's a manhunt going on, we got somebody in our neighborhood that's running around strapped up doing, crazy
man,
things.
that question right there is so broad based because I don't know, and no one really knows like what your household is like. You know,
Right, right.
you like Skittles. You know, you like baby oil and Skittles.
So
So
but on a
so
defense measure, right? So if you're telling this particular neighborhood you got to lock down because there's somebody going around, what do you want to do in your household to make sure you're not a target for that person running around? Obviously, he's going to go wherever he wants, but like Gina was saying, don't keep all the lights on, don't do that. Do you got any
Well,
kind of
well,
information
so
pertaining
so
to that?
so 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 two things. The first thing isn't very serious. If I had a house and everything else, I leave my doors unlocked, like no one's home. We going on vacation. That's a free body, man. And you get to be on news. You get a free body. You be like, yo, I capped that motherfucker. Right. No.
Right.
So one thing about remember a lot of people like soft targets. Most people aren't going to break into
Yeah.
an occupied house. So it's just like if you go away, make sure your mail's picked up, lights on, make it look like someone's living there. And this situation is like where you really would really need to know your neighbors and know your neighborhood, know if something's out of place, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying profile someone, but you know who lives in your neighborhood,
Wow.
right?
Right.
Now you got all these the gig economy with people delivering food, doing this and doing that, but we generally know when stuff's off and doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. So just that situational awareness, um, you know, don't make it easy for them. Like if you got a garage, lock that up in the back. If you have like a detached garage, lock that up so they can't hide in that. Remember, they caught one of the brothers from the
Yeah.
Boston
Yeah.
Marathon bombing. He was hiding in the boat,
Mhm.
right? So it's just stuff like that. But you can't be 100% all the time because you, I got a shed in my backyard. I'm not going back there every night to check to make sure no one's there. So just knowing something's out of place. You can't, and this is easy to say, but it's hard to do. You can't let fear and terror run your life,
Hmm.
Hundred
right?
percent.
You
100%.
you can't. But with that being said, don't go out there and be reckless. There's certain things you can do. Um, don't answer your door to strangers. If you don't know, if you don't expect someone's coming by, don't answer your door. You know, um, know your neighbors. Know what goes on in your neighborhood, in your vicinity. As far as your stocks and everything else, just prepare your stuff. as you normally would. Me, it's scotch and cigars. As long as I got that, I'm good. You know, like
Yep.
shit. Again, like one of those things. Like I know you said earlier about getting meds and everything else. You know, if you got any one of the several health conditions that a lot of Americans are faced with, one, try to change your diet. Get away from this fucking McDonald's and all this other shit and everything
Yeah.
else, man, because it's killing us. They're killing us slowly.
Look
Start
for
to
the
eat,
natural remedies. Yeah.
yeah. Start to eat a little bit more natural, and a little bit healthy. You can't do it all the time. I like scotch and cigars. Probably the worst two things out there for you, right? But it ain't gonna clog up my arteries. Um, sugar is like probably the most addictive substance on earth,
Yep,
Yep.
right?
it is.
Um, watch your blood pressure, all that other shit. Guys was talking about honey and garlic and all that other stuff. So you got that. Um, you can get extra meds if you think something's going to go on for an extended period of time. Also, like your medicines, like I know this for a fact with IV fluids and stuff like that. As long as the stuff is stored properly,
Mhm.
you can use it past the expiration date. It's not recommended. It loses some of its potency. But like with a pill, like that big ass pill is only a very little bit of medicine in it and shit. You know what I mean?
Right. 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 Yeah.
So those are some of the things that we have to start understanding and knowing. And I would just say just like the situational awareness.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's like the biggest thing, and you'll be surprised at how much stuff happens that we don't pay attention to because I'm on my cell phone, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Like how many people? And this is like the old joke. How many people notice the arrow in the FedEx trucks? And everyone's know that by now. But there's an arrow when you look between the E and the X. There's an arrow in there. We get so busy we don't even notice that shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Laughing
Um,
at you, sunshine. I'm sorry.
I can't see the chat, man. Y'all guys must be fucking
She like,
rolling.
hey, Scott. Would you talk about which said, hey, Scotch can clean a wound.
Right.
Yeah, it can. So never underestimate the power of alcohol and honey. Honey's great, nutritional value, medicinal value, and some other
Oh yeah.
values.
I
But
got a bunch of
we won't get into
Everclear.
that there.
I got lots.
Kelsey
I got. I
Collins.
got. I got quite a few bottles of Everclear
Yeah,
for all purposes. I mean, you got Everclear for all purpose, whether it's clean wounds, sanitize. You can make tinctures, all that. But I know Carbon was laughing at the furry freak comment, not the
Yeah,
I
that's
Scotch.
just
all.
saw it.
That's what I was
I started laughing just now. I just now saw it. I said, that's what she was talking about.
Yeah. You can use alcohol for defensive purposes as well.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Everything from Molotov cocktails to
Mhm.
all that other stuff. Also, keep in mind, right? Like, so let's say what happened to Texas when that grid went down, and you got
Yeah.
to have lights. You don't have flashlights or batteries.
Yeah.
You can use like your cooking oil and vegetable oil to make a candle,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
And it's
sir.
not really that hard. Gina would be nice if you do that one day and put it up and show us how to do it. You
Have
know?
you done that, Gina? You know what you need to do, right? You just
I know
take
what
some.
to do for it. I haven't done it myself, but yes, I know how. I know it's easy. I've
Yeah.
seen it.
Hey, hey, when you do it, if you plan on doing it, not to put you on the spot, when you plan on doing it, invite Miss Ghetto with you because she's still making her some as well. I got me a whole gang of tubs of shortening, and really all you need is a wick, a mason jar, and some shortening,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah.
And
Yep,
they're real easy to make, emergency candles and stuff.
it is.
Then the cool thing, you got those marauders, take that bitch and throw it. Be like, Viva la revolution.
That
You
part.
can also use it to warm yourself up as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
no heat.
Um, so it's just stuff like that and everything else because, like you said, when you're doing a shelter in place, you're not in a bugging in, grid down, zombies is walking the earth situation. So
Right.
Right.
your life's going to go on as normal and as per usual and everything else, and that's we have to balance it. And again, it goes back to don't panic, man, because once you start panicking,
A wrap.
most of your hope is gone. It's just like Miss Cubu said. When someone rolls up on the scene, I think actually, Gillo, you said it too, man. If the person that's providing the medical care or helping you out, if they start to panic and everything else, that person you're trying to help is going to panic. Now everyone's like, "Oh shit, I'm going to die, I'm going to die."
Yeah.
They're going to be
Oh
like,
man.
He'd be like, "Someone
I'm
grab my baby."
Right.
man. Jova. I remember, and you remember this stuff. A lot of the helping and all this, you remember it the rest of your life. You really do.
Yeah, yeah,
But that was ultimately my biggest thing that I regret during that night. That the stuff happened to my brother and myself, but it was letting him know that his whole entire chest was open.
yeah,
Like he didn't know, he was still fighting. We were still fighting right next to each other, and it's like as soon as he knew, it was over with. I had to carry him to the car, like
yeah,
it was done for. So it's extremely important that if you're there to help somebody, you have to keep your calm
yeah.
and assess the situation the right way. No,
You,
I'm
you,
with you, man.
yeah. You have to give beyond a shadow of a doubt. Be like, Ghetto, you gonna make it, man. We gonna be back drinking beer in no time at all. You know,
Right,
and
right, yeah,
we gonna go through this motherfucker lock and take everything. That he ain't gonna fucking
yep.
make it and shit.
They sell it on the shelves here, Miss OG Gardner.
Yeah.
Some liquor
Everclear is the
stores,
best to get. Sorry.
yes. I'm sorry. Some liquor stores have it. I have seen it in some of the liquor stores. I thought
Oh, okay.
Amazon did sell it, but I don't know if they still do or not.
Yeah.
They said Amazon sell alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Not to my state. They won't even
No,
sell
not
tobacco
that,
tubes to us.
not that type of alcohol, but they do have Everclear on here because it's like alcohol to them. It's not considered.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Hey,
Mhm.
Okay.
so also speaking of alcohol and everything else, maybe some scotch. One of the things that like we need to know, like how many people put hydrogen peroxide on the wound.
Yeah, I stopped doing that because it
Yeah.
kills the good stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's just like
Mhm.
stuff like that that um, the more we know, you know.
Mhm.
I mean, as corny as that shit sounds, like seriously, literally, the more we know.
Mhm.
Well,
Um,
that's one of our most important preps, though, is knowledge. We have
yeah,
to. I mean, you can have all the manuals, you can
Very
have the
well
phones, you
said.
can have everything. You
Mhm.
need to remember it. You know what I mean? You
Very
gotta
well
remember
said.
it.
well, also, and the bad thing is you need to have a way to practice it because, I
Yeah.
got all these manuals, I got all this knowledge, but I never applied it
That's just thing.
in real time. So
Yeah.
I never tried to put a tourniquet on someone else or put a tourniquet on myself, right? And then like some of these cat tourniquets and some of these rat tourniquets, there's a lot of fugazi ones out there with the handles they'll break on you because they're not the right material. If that makes any
Mhm.
sense. So
Right.
you use them and they'll break. Um, Shit.
Hey,
Usually,
Sister
usually
Marie's Kitchen.
you want to get a
I
few.
met her too.
You want to get a couple of them, really good ones, because that tourniquet part of it, that windlet, that
Mhm.
breaks. And then if you do use it and there's blood on it, it's not something you want to just put back inside your thing or throw on your washing machine. You want to get rid of that and get a brand new one and put
Yes.
it back inside your,
Yes.
So make sure you get a few good ones. It's gonna cost you some money because I think they run like what 40 and up.
Oof.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oof.
And that's
That's
Man.
what.
newer generation ones. They're pretty expensive. So yeah, you're gonna spend a little money on them.
Yeah. Hey, so speaking of that, one thing too, right? And this 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 came up in another YouTube group, live forum, whatever. Like a lot of times we'll sit down here and we'll spend money on stuff because it's this, it's that, and everything else. And at the end of the day, we're spending money on stuff that we shouldn't have because it has all the bells and whistles and everything else, and then all that stuff is just extra stuff that you're just paying for, and it really doesn't work or serve any practical purpose.
Mhm.
Um, Tourniquets are $40.
So I have
He's still thinking about like, dang.
the
That's
good
what's up.
ones. There's a difference. There's like the ones on Amazon. Those are training ones. Those are not ones that you want in your actual
No.
kit.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about like your rat tourniquets, the
The
rat
ones
foot
with elastic.
application tourniquets, and
Hmm.
the combat application. Those go for $40.
Like cats, I know the cat ones are pretty expensive. Right under them is Rhino. Rhino is less expensive, but I've heard
Does
Rhino.
anybody want to buy any tourniquets?
Why?
You want to look for the serial number on them. That's how you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The NSN on them.
Yeah.
Anybody want to buy any tourniquets?
Yes, absolutely.
Shit, times is hard. It's either selling tourniquets or start dancing
Selling
again.
tourniquets now.
Chicago Mike, I'm confused. What you mean you just sub? You just sub somewhere else? Because I know you didn't just sub here. Because I know you've been subbed here.
Oh,
And Jova, for you, what do you mean you was in somebody else's YouTube? You watch more YouTubers than me?
okay.
Yeah, I got to. You know, I'm waiting on my favorite YouTuber to come back on, and then you gotta
Who's
say
your
you gotta say
favorite?
you is Big Mama. You is Big Mama. Cups and
I think
Collins, I
you
love
talking.
you.
I pointed the wrong way. I think you talk about Carbon.
No, hey, Cups and Collins, you know you my only thing.
Mhm. I have no
No,
knowledge about y'all.
actually,
Hilarious.
Yeah.
so hey, so with what Carbon said, so you got two types of tourniquets. You got the rats and the cats, and one of them has a thicker band on it or a thicker webbing on it and everything else, right?
Mhm.
Um, so also with that being said, know how to stage your tourniquet and use it because there's like two schools of thought. Some people say already have it looped up, so if you got to put it on your leg or whatever, then you can do it and you don't have to worry about doing that
Right.
manipulation. Some people say just fold it and don't have it looped, then you got to go through that. It's really personal preference. Um, at that point, it's really personal preference
All
of
right. Let
how you
me.
Red
stage it.
cats. Mhm.
So can I give y'all a situation then? Let's say you ain't got nothing. You're in the middle of a bowling alley. Somebody is in need of a tourniquet. What do you grab to use as a tourniquet?
What's around?
You're in a bowling alley, so go ahead and take your pick on what you think would work.
Shoelaces.
So if you have a belt, you can utilize a belt. If
Sure.
you
Okay.
have if
Yeah.
you have someone has a shirt with long
I was
sleeves on it,
thinking a shirt.
Mhm.
That's the first thing I thought of.
um, you can do that.
Okay.
You can
Mhm.
utilize towels.
Mhm.
Um, Here I'm going to turn on my camera and everything else.
Anything that's gonna cut the artery off, right? I mean, that's
Well,
that's the whole point, right? I mean, I know this
you
stuff.
don't
I
really
just
want to
like
cut off the
asking the
artery. So
question.
like this tourniquet right here, right? I
In
don't know
the
if you guys
stop.
can see it or not.
I'm gonna
I don't
put
know how
you.
to
I'm gonna
change my
put you
camera.
large. Hold on, so they can
So
see it. Okay.
that tourniquet right there, right?
Yeah.
This is a cat's, right? So they
Okay.
changed them
Mhm.
um, with the tag and everything else to put your information on it. And then like the clip that's on it, they've changed that also on some of the newer ones. So again, um, there's various tourniquets out there, right? And they do the same. They do different things with the same thing, just how you apply it. As far as cutting off the artery, you have to understand once you apply that tourniquet and everything else, there's no blood flow below whatever point you tie it to. So you got to be very careful. You don't want
Okay.
to tie it too high and
Mhm.
necrotize good tissue, right? That makes any sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So just be aware of that. Um, shit,
That's
tourniquets.
why it's important to know the two types of bleeds, though, right? Because if you got a superficial bleed, you ain't got to put no tourniquet on it. It's
Yeah,
only
so you
if
can
you
just
got the
do
artery
yeah
bleed, right?
for something like that. You can just go like direct pressure, elevation, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
You can do that. If the blood's gushing, then yeah, you got to stop that because uh, loss of blood will get you.
Mhm.
Right. Right.
And always keep a marker with your kit. So if you do apply it to somebody, you can just jot down quickly if you have the opportunity to. So if they do go to the hospital, they know how long that was on there, and they can assess from that point on.
Yeah, yeah, facts. Then also with your tourniquet too, right? So and the reason why you want to go as close to the wound as possible is because that one tourniquet doesn't hold. You have to apply additional tourniquets. You can start working your way up. So if I got a wound to my forearm and you apply that at my elbow, you can only go higher than that. So that's going to cut off
Okay.
all that circulation. And then it, you got to know how to take the pulse and all that other stuff with that.
Right.
Also, put the time that the tourniquet was applied in case you're not there when more advanced medical personnel gets there, or if they vacuum to a hospital, something like that. Uh, Shit. What else about tourniquets?
You just want to keep assessing it in case it does, because you're gonna the person's gonna move, and you just that can move with it. You just want to make sure that it's right where you had it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically, don't let it loosen up, right?
Don't let it
Yes.
loosen up. Make sure you secure
Okay.
that when how do you what do you call that thing? A windlet? I can never say it right. But hi Chicago. You just want to make sure that's on right, and especially if it's a mass casualty, you're gonna be all over the place. So just always go back and just try to, if you can remember, to go back and assess them again.
Yeah.
Just check it, make sure it's good.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they might try to take it off because it's too tight and it does hurt.
Yes. If the person is conscious
Yeah.
and you do it right, it is going to hurt.
Hmm.
It's no facts about that. And that goes back into that next thing is shock, right? Shock can kill you. Um, Also, you start getting to your more gruesome injuries, like a good old compounded fracture. You got tib fib break that's breaking through the bone, breaking through the leg.
Yeah.
Beautiful, fucking beautiful. So don't try and set bones. Don't try and push shit back in. Just leave it where
Yeah.
it lays, splint it, immobilize it. Right. One of the things with gut wounds, right? People try and fucking push intestines back in. You don't want to do it. Just kind of loosely pack it, keep it moist, keep it in place. Right. Blunt force trauma. With that, you run a risk of pneumothorax injuries, right? People start getting bleeding in the chest, and they get pressure on the lungs, right? You get a punctured lung, shit like that. Again, they're laying down. You don't want to lay them, right? So if someone has a collapsed lung, one of their lungs is collapsing, everyone knows what side to put them on so they can breathe better, right?
Hmm.
Right? You put them on the side where the
No, I don't. Let us
no,
know.
you so like if my left lung is starting to collapse, you'll want to roll me onto my left side. Because if you roll me onto my right, it's counterintuitive. If you roll me onto my right side, that's more pressure and more stress on my right lung. Because now I got to support all that body
Okay.
weight and everything else. Some of that shit's kind of counterintuitive. A
How,
puncture wound to the chest, right? You want to put a seal on it to prevent your chest cavity from your lungs from collapsing. Remember, inside your chest, it's like a semi-sealed environment, right? So if you got a puncture in it, it's going to start getting that overpressure. That's where you start hearing them wheeze and everything else and shit, right? You walk up to someone, you see that they got hit bad, and I'm not talking about like punch in the mouth or whatever, but you see blood start coming out the mouth, and it's like that good deep red blood. We know that's arterial blood. We know they're bleeding like from the lungs and everything else. You start hearing that
yes,
gurgling sound,
Hmm.
right? We gotta stop that. We gotta get something on it. A lot of medical kits sell decompression needles. Be careful of those because if you don't know what you're doing with it, you end up fucking that individual up,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like they say, don't stay within your lane. As Erica and Billy would say, man, don't go beyond your stroke. Know what your stroke is.
Yeah. You're gonna see lots. Besides blood, you might see feces. People are gonna urinate themselves. You're gonna come across a lot of things that you're not expecting, because
Mm-hmm.
these
Yep,
people, whoever the victims are, they might not be able to control anything after that point. So you're gonna have to work around it.
yep.
right. Yeah.
You'll
Plus,
have
Adrenaline
that.
makes you
Uh, com-
adrenaline makes you lose a lot of functions.
yeah,
Complete loss of bodily functions and everything else. So also, not only like mass casualties, you come up on someone that's ODing, right?
yeah,
They on that slide. They'll start doing all the same stuff, right? Um,
Right, right,
Upon what they're on, some of those things are they suppress your breathing and everything else, right?
right.
So you can have people asphyxiate and all that other good stuff.
A quick
And
little a quick little tip. Sorry, Joe Bob, but a
now
quick
you're
little
good. You're
tip
good,
is
man.
most rehab centers and detox centers give out free Narcan. We got like 4 or 5 Narcans in our preps
Yeah,
just because we live in the times and you never know. You know what I mean? I recommend people have one in their EDC bag as well.
and learn how to apply that.
administer it.
Yeah,
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
administer it properly. So also with that, anaphylaxis shock, right? There's a lot of people allergic to bees and other things, peanuts. They'll send them in the shop. I'm not
Right.
saying what's that shit that they have for it?
EpiPen.
Yeah, EpiPen. I'm not
Yeah.
saying go and get one because again, if you don't know how to administer it, you could potentially do more harm than good. But those are good to have if someone has known food allergies and everything else. You'll be surprised. Like some of the stuff is just like really, really simple, and it literally could save a life. Even talking to someone after they've seen something, it's like being that soothing voice, calming them down. That goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
She is sunshine. Which part are you talking about? Have
Oh,
what?
I was typing it. It's called Narcan,
Yeah,
sunshine, and
Oh.
basically it neutralizes all the drugs in your system. It
yeah,
automatically makes them sober, pretty
yeah.
much.
It neutralizes the opiates. It has
Yes,
a
exactly.
it attaches it it detaches the opiate
Yes,
compound from your chemical receptor. It just brings you out of your high. It fucks up your high. That's the best way to
pretty
put it.
much. Yeah, and you're gonna have some pissed off people, unfortunately, stupid mofos,
Yeah, man. Because they be on
because
that nod. They be like, dude, I was
yeah,
on some good shit. Like, why you do that?
right. And then it automatically puts them into withdrawal as well. So
Yeah.
you gotta expect that too. But as long as you do your due and use, thankfully we haven't had to use it, but on anybody, which is crazy considering the
And
city that's
and
next to us. But
and then with that being said, that's an excellent segue because with the proliferation of fentanyl and other illicit drugs,
yes,
it doesn't even have to be someone that's a drug abuser or user. It could be someone, everyday person that just happens to get a come in contact with it.
Right.
yes,
Oh shit,
your kid can find
transfer
something.
contact. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Your kid can find something on the playground or whatever and give it to you, and all of a sudden they're going. They just had that at that daycare
Yep.
where
Yeah. Yeah.
they had those
In New York.
babies sleeping on the bed, and they was
Yep.
so. I mean, it
Yep.
could be any situation. There is so much fentanyl in this country that
Mhm.
it's, to me, it's.
Yeah.
And as an ex drug addict, that's why we got them way back in the day. But we replenished them. We, because they were expiring and all that. But
Yeah.
you got to
Yeah.
be ready for everything. I know you can't. And New York Outcast. Um, it's more of a prepping type of conversation we was going off of, and I'm sorry, Gina, this is your channel and stuff, but
You're fine.
Gina was going off of what had happened with the shooter and all that stuff, and she felt it be important that we talk to people that need to prep and stuff like that, because unfortunately, but a lot of 2A and a lot of gardeners, even, they're not preppers. They're just stuck in that one box of, okay, I'm growing and stuff, which is fine. But I think we need to, we need to look past the let's just grow some garden. Let's, preserve it. Let's make sure we got something for the wintertime. Like my girl making a whole gang of salsa here, I think tomorrow, because we grew all the tomatoes and all the peppers. But that's not just because she can make it, but it's so we don't have to buy no salsa in the winter. And that's a small example, but Gina wants people prepped up, which I'm definitely in
In
agreement with.
all the ways too. It's not just food.
Yes,
It's
all the ways.
because the people who follow my channel come from different communities because I frequent in different communities.
Yeah.
I try to, I for those that garden and I want them to also prep the. A lot of the gardeners are prepping some of their things that they're growing anyway, but also prepping in the way of 2A. Don't be afraid to pop into a 2A channel and listen to the conversations. I think sometimes the anxiety around firearms is based on what you're seeing on TV and not what real life
Hmm.
is.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. There's
I,
there's 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 a lot. And you can go down many rabbit holes and everything else. And like just like getting back to your first date, like even like how do you transport? Like you've done everything right. You got someone stabilized. How do you transport an individual to another level of medical care? You know what I mean? Is it better for you to wait for an ambulance to come or throw them in a car and roll out? Because keep in mind, all hospitals, all emergency rooms aren't equipped to handle all types of trauma. So you got level one, two, three, and four trauma centers. You know,
Yes.
you got
Yes.
trauma centers that sees knife fights, gunshot wounds, motor vehicle accidents, and then you got like your little urgent care clinics that like it's gonna make you wait 8 hours because you got a boom
Man,
thing, right?
yeah,
It's all about that golden hour. That golden hour is
Yes.
key.
Yes. And I just felt like it just needed, because I saw, I meant to touch back on that where New York Outcast said, today's, my Friday conversation is, it's a pretty heavy conversation. And I had knew yesterday morning after I heard about, because I woke up, the first thing I looked at when I looked at my phone was a, um, article about what happened in Maine. And when I looked into it, I'm like, my thoughts wasn't so much about what happened, but all the things, all the ways that we should be more prepared in some situations. Um, and that's where my thoughts went to, like being a little bit more prepared in this world. It doesn't have to be that situation. Like I said, it could be weather related. It could be anything, but how prepared are we really? Like, are we taking the steps to go beyond just what we are currently doing? Are we taking steps to learn something about other things like prepping, like having a medical kit, having a way to start a fire, or burn a can, make a candle, things like that? Are we taking the time to learn those things? How to properly use a firearm, and have it to a proper way to store it, like making sure you have a safe and things like that. Are you taking the time to learn those things? It's okay that you love the thing that you're doing, but that you can also venture off to other. There's so much on this platform, that you could venture off to other areas and learn something and maybe take something from
Yeah.
it.
Hey, so Miss Gina, Gigi, another thing, dog bites, pet bites,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like we
Mm-hmm.
don't we don't think about that. Just like your average everyday domestic injury,
Yep.
you're cutting a tomato with a dull knife. Just stuff like that. Do you have stuff around there to I'm not going to say triage, but do you have stuff around that where you can uh, care for that wound? Wound care, because with all these ailments that I have, with my bees acting up and everything else, I cut my foot. That's what I'm talking about. So you got
Mm-hmm.
the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I cut my foot. I don't think anything of it, but because I got the beaties, now it's that wound's going to ulcerate and everything else, and now you're going to be calling me one-legged Joe.
Yeah.
So it's stuff like that that we sit and we joke, but we really don't. We need to take it a little bit more serious. Like your pattern of life. How many times have you heard on the news? Uh, No one's saying hi to Hair Joe. Come to find out, he's been dead in his apartment for the last 6 days because he fell and couldn't get up, or some stupid shit like that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it happens because I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's
yeah.
Yep.
it's
Those
serious.
those are going to be the most dangerous people in my eyes. New York Outcast, when because he asked what kind of rehab can you provide during SHTF. Got to be if you're talking about drugs, to me that's going to be the most dangerous people out there because they're going to be the most desperate. And unfortunately, I've been through that situation with the desperation for drugs is bad. It gets bad. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you'll steal from your own mama. But
Mm-hmm.
in the SHTF, that's why I was bringing up the medical, think about your medical stuff because that's the first places that are going to be hit
Mm-hmm.
is is the pharmacies. Now me and I know this ain't part of the situation, but I also prep drug dealers. I know it sounds a little crazy,
Nah,
but
get away, man. That's not
but
crazy.
look, you got to be aware of where your major drug dealers are in the cities and in the ghettos because I guarantee you that will be the currency. If depending on the situation, that will be the currency. We're going to go back to our vices. The world's going to get so crazy, it's going to be more important that people have their vices because that's what they're going to search for.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So and QB brought it up on one of the survival Mondays or whatever. certain things will become currency, whether it's drugs, tobacco, alcohol, sex.
Unfortunately, women, yeah,
So that we will revert back to our primal needs.
yeah,
So I mean that's just a if you look at a lot of places that have civil unrest, civil strife, right?
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Civil wars, everything else, ethnic cleansing. What's one of the things that they do? They rape, pillage, and plunder.
yep.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That is
That's
a
the
tool.
first thing.
That is a weapon. Right? They weaponize that.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's not far fetched. But like I got a lot of work to do and shit because I'm not fucking prepared. You know.
Right.
You know. Hell, I can't even fucking change a tire.
Wait a minute. What? Hold on.
Yeah.
I believe him.
You being
Yeah.
sarcastic, right?
No, I got roadside assistance, man. Call the motherfuckers up in a heartbeat. Bring me some
There you
gas.
go. I hope you be. My man, my daughter, my 11-year-old son knows how to change a tire.
Well, you know what, Ghetto? Your 11-year-old son had a better father than I did, all right? Why you bringing up my daddy issues?
No.
I
I'm,
I
I'm
think
going to
we're
need
too
therapy after
comfortable.
this.
I think we're too
But listen,
comfortable as an American people.
Nah.
Oh, sorry, Gina.
I no, I just want to say because I think a lot of people, because for one, she's been kind of away for a little bit. I'm wondering if there's people in the chat who may not know who's up here with me. Carbon Q.
Hi.
Carbon Q is a content creator. She'll be back, but
Yay.
she's a prepper. She is a true prepper. So y'all saw her come with that bag. Y'all didn't even see but a couple things that was in it. That was a big bag.
Yeah,
Just
that's
know that bag is prepped.
that's just medical. That's just medical stuff. But I've been away. I've been working, so hopefully I'll
Hmm.
be back by the beginning of the year. But I'm just happy to see so many different people in different areas
Yeah,
coming together
Yeah.
and just learning. I don't care if you just get 2 cans of soup, a versus
Yes.
it, it's something better than having anything. So,
Yes.
you know, especially in our communities, this particular situation right here, I was really shocked and surprised to see like how they responded to it, the amount of services that they got so quickly from so many different people at one time.
Hmm.
It's some people don't get that, some areas don't get that. So
Yeah.
you have to be the one that's going to kind of try to provide that as much as best as you can, especially if you come together as a community. That's one thing I'm watching with them. Their community is very tight. They're taking care of each other, and that's something that we need to start implementing in other communities. That if
Hmm.
something does happen, that we can reach out, and maybe you might not have the medical stuff, but I might have it. But you have the
Yep.
food,
yeah,
you have the garden, you have the fresh food, whatever the case may be, that we can work together just so everybody can
Yes.
go through what they have to get through. There's a
Yes.
lot of prepping. Jump in, watch a lot of these channels because you'll learn something every time you do. And whatever it is, just get something from it. I've watched people who never prepped and now they're on here talking about it a whole lot.
right.
Being their
And
That
you
own
was
could,
me. I
people
started
for people.
prepping because I was watching Carbon
Yeah.
and Bougie Prepper
Mhm.
and Starduster. They would do a live once a week, and they would talk about a way of prep, a different way thing that you could be prepping.
Mhm.
And I was showing up because I was learning. Even if I didn't make it to the live, I would rewatch it because every time there was
hmm
something to take away from the live. And a
Mhm.
lot of the prep items I have came from me watching those.
Yeah.
And then I started watching Erica, and she started
Mhm.
sharing some stuff because she does a lot of prepping.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of preppers out there who are not just. I think sometimes when people hear prepping,
Yeah.
like Broke said in the beginning, he just thinks that when the people he see talk about it are always talking about firearms. I mean, is that a prepping? Yeah, it's one way to be prepared. And I think a lot of other people think it's just food. It's not, because you hear us talking about medical. People don't think about medical. People don't think
right,
about fire. Fire is used for many things. So just taking the time to go out there and check out some of these content creators and
right.
be able to take something from them. There's a lot of them.
Just
Yeah.
hope
And
that's
as a society, we've been deemed as crazy too. And so a lot of people, they don't even, as soon as you hear prepper, oh, okay, well, I'm out of here. Y'all just got a whole bunch of
That's
food,
because
water,
people
Yeah.
have their
and
own thoughts of what prepping
right,
means.
right. But just know that you can learn something from absolutely everybody. Some of y'all
Mm-hmm.
don't know, and sorry to put you out there, Carbon, but Miss Carver Q canned with me and my wife for the first time on my panel. She was learning stuff from me, of all people. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
came into this community learning from everybody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll take what I got to teach somebody else that may know a whole lot about something else that I'm learning from. You know what I mean? Like tonight, I learned about the bleed stuff. I should have already known that. You would have thought I'd known that, but
I didn't
it's
know
all
it.
about
I learned that
right.
today.
Yeah.
Right. It's all about gaining that knowledge, and don't just dismiss somebody because they say they're a gardener and you're a 2A and
Mm-hmm.
you're like, okay, well, I don't need gardening. No, I mean, you eat, right?
I
I
learned
mean,
I learned from a lot of gardeners there. I learned from the 2A. I learned even from
yes.
because prepping is something you're never gonna reach a bottom line to. You're always gonna
Mm-hmm.
learn something new. There's so many
Mm-hmm.
people in these chats that have
Mm-hmm.
knowledge on so many different topics. They may not say
Mm-hmm.
they're a prepper, but they'll come into your chats and they'll share their knowledge. So when you go
Mm-hmm.
in there, also read the chats. You'll learn a lot of things. TLC was dropping a lot of good info inside
Yeah.
of it. Ray Official.
With
Um,
allergies and stuff, right? Yep.
You have a lot
There's
of people
a
that
lot
come
of.
from a law enforcement background, from a medical
Mm-hmm.
background, so many different backgrounds. You could, if whatever question you have, just put it out there. Somebody's going to answer it. Somebody's going to be like, oh, that's this, that, and the other. You have Joe Q. I can't say what Joe
Yes.
Q does because nobody knows what he does, but he knows a lot of stuff.
He's
Um,
in witness protection.
but it's
So
like,
she and
yeah,
Sunshine
I
said,
got I
"Why
got
you in the
warrants.
dark?"
Yeah.
Because he a
Hey,
He had a
witness.
safe house.
hey, uh, on a serious note, to bring it back around when we talk about health, let's not forget the mental health aspect of it, because
Yes.
mhm,
certain situations, certain stressors will make an individual do something totally out of character that you wouldn't see. So even the aspect of when they went through the pandemic, when they said, you can't go and buy this or can't have that, you got there's an informal curfew. People freaked out, so
Mm-hmm.
get your we got our physical down, get your mental right too, because without a good mental game you're not going to last.
mhm,
um the black 007. All right, tech money, I got you. And then with that being said, Ghetto, in all honesty, we're all preppers, right? Because you think about it, if I know that it's going to be a storm or it's going to snow, I'll go and put gas in my car. That's a form of
Yes.
prepping. You just do it
Right,
on
Yes.
a
right.
different scale.
mhm.
You
Right,
know?
exactly.
So,
If you buy toilet paper, you a prepper because
well,
I mean,
not even buy it. If you got a roll of toilet paper in your bathroom, you're a prepper.
exactly. Most
You know
definitely.
what I
So,
mean? You ain't
It's
gonna be
just
like,
right.
hey,
yeah,
someone bring me a roll. Like, nah, you're a
it's just
prepper.
many levels to it, and
Yeah,
it's no age group. Some of your
No.
elders in here are your powerhouses. They know how to take the
Yes.
simplest things and just
And make something from it. Yes.
hey,
and
Right.
actually, if you guys want to see the ultimate preppers, and I'm not trying to disparage any marginalized groups, but go look at the homeless, right?
Yes,
Look at the homeless, how
sir.
they live and everything else, man.
Yeah.
They build to withstand stuff. And
mhm,
Yeah.
you got to figure that out, right? Because when this stuff was going around, there was like, oh, it's a man killer, it's a man killer.
that's right.
Man, you still got all these damn homeless communities thriving.
All right,
Yep.
that's true. You have a
You
lot of
know,
people from the Depression era, which is
yeah,
just like Pepper's Paradise. They know how to make anything out of anything.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Look back at to what our ancestors did and the elders did, as
Mhm,
far as canning preparations, putting stuff aside for a rainy day, all that other stuff. Struggle mills, right? All my mills are struggle mills. Got to stretch that shit. Go and
Yes.
Yeah.
and
stretch it.
and it's not to dismiss the younger group or generation as well because they're technologically advanced than us where it might take us 3 days to do something they know a way to do it in 2 hours a day and
Right.
time does count so
Yep.
they're going to be much needed especially for your technology your hand I'm sorry Robert your hand radios all of that stuff they know how
Mm-hmm.
to work all of that stuff and upgrade it from what it was back then to
Yeah.
now so
Yeah.
it's
Then also learn how to repair your stuff. Learn how to. I'm not saying be a master electrician, but know how to go, know where your circuit breakers are,
Yep.
what circuit controls everything else, so you're not
Yep.
like, fidgeting around and everything else. Know, like, if you live in a house and you need external power requirements, know how many amps your refrigerator draws. Know, like, the things that, hey, this is what I'm going to power up. Everything else
Yeah.
is icing on the cake. But I need my freezer, refrigerator, and stove. Just
That's the first thing I did when I got my generator is I plugged my freezer, seen how many hours I would get out of it, plugged in my refrigerator, seen how many hours I get into it, and then you think, okay, now I can recharge my generator with my car. You got to go through these methods. You can't just buy a whole bunch of stuff and then, all right, once it happens, I'm going to use all this stuff. No, you're going to be panicking because you didn't learn how to
Mhm.
actually use these particular things.
I didn't
Yeah.
realize how important worms were until I got into the garden community.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
So
For
it was
sure.
just like a nuisance, and I'm like, wow,
yeah,
you really do need you really
yeah.
do need these worms.
Worms, bees,
I
and
didn't know.
birds.
Bees.
Yeah,
Right? Worms, bees, and birds.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
As silly as that sounds, I would have been killing all the worms, but
Yep.
now I kind of. The crazy part is now when it rains and I see them and they're stuck on the sidewalk and the sun comes out, I kind of like flick them back for the grass. We need y'all. Get back.
Yeah, she be talking to the worms like, "Oh, thank you,
I've
little
learned to
buddy. I
respect
appreciate it."
things that I would probably have never thought twice about because
Yep.
I may not, you might not hear me say, you might not see me in your chat, but I'm watching because sometimes I
Yep.
like to just be quiet and pay attention to what you're
Yep.
doing.
She was like Agent K from Men in Black too.
Or I'm,
Like,
I'm
that's
working
mighty damn nice of you.
anything.
But yeah, so it's just like, don't know how to like all your scraps, your kitchen scraps, know how to compost stuff.
Yeah.
You know, just like, we throw bacon grease away, that fat. You can use that for other stuff, anything from making a candle to whatever. There's a lot of stuff out there, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, in our modern society, we are buy it, use it once, throw it away. Buy it, use
Disposable
it once, throw it
society.
away.
Yep.
And there's a lot of stuff that has multiple uses and everything else. You can save money and stretch it. And you'll be surprised, like, when you don't have something, how resourceful you can get and how it breaks other people, right? Like,
Right.
go out to the woods for a week and you'll see. Go to a foreign country for 6 months and you'll see. Go to prison for 10 years and you'll see. And
Hmm.
you'll be surprised
Oh
at how
yeah.
resourceful you get, and how, like, you can learn to live with a lot
Yeah.
less.
Yes,
I think.
those guys are
I
my
think.
divers.
Yeah. I
They,
thank God every day I was raised the way I was raised. Like a lot of people would take it as, oh, that's blah 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 blah. No, you learn so much growing up without having anything. And I wanted to say something about what New York said earlier about brushing your teeth and soap and stuff
Hmm.
like that. The
Hmm.
common knowledge of just knowing that you can burn some pine needles in
yeah.
a fire and literally stand over and have a smoke bath that will kill all the germs on you.
Yeah,
So, I mean, there's so many things that you can learn just having these conversations with people or watching certain channels or just there's so many different preps and you don't do it out of fear. That's the other thing I like to tell
Mhm.
people is don't prep out of fear.
Yeah.
Just prep out of knowing that hey, tomorrow I'm gonna want to eat. So what
yeah,
do I got in the cupboards? What can I grow? What can I pack up for later on?
yeah.
Yeah.
Pay
Well,
attention to the world. Okay, if what would happen right now if I lived in the G, the Gaza, right? What would happen? I would need to have water. I would need to have this. Just put yourself in situations to where okay, now let me fill up the holes in my preps because I didn't even think about that situation.
yeah.
Take the major situations in the world as an education to help yourself out, is basically what I'm saying.
Mhm.
And Ghetto, to segue into what you just said, it's like we take a lot of things for granted that we have to do. We man, this is gonna
Yeah,
sound gross. We take that I have to brush my teeth every day. I have to wash my ass every day. Those are luxuries, right?
Yeah.
Now, brushing your oral health is good because it can prevent certain diseases and everything else, heart
right,
disease,
right.
all other good shit, bacteria. But, like, when you're in those situations, man, washing your ass is like kind of low down to your totem pole. But you hear a
Right.
lot of people talk about, yeah, my bug out bag, I got all these hand wipes and sanitizers and everything else. Ditch that shit for something that's more useful, right?
Right, yeah.
I need some of those.
Yeah, well, and that's so Gigi. that's really a personal preference because whatever you do to the left of the equal sign, you got to do to the right.
You keep cutting out, Jova. We think right now that we need some of them. You know what I mean? I think it's only
No,
our
sir.
look.
Mm-mm.
I think it's our mentality as of right now. But what I'm saying is have the alternative to back up on. Is kind of what I was saying.
Yeah.
But I know what he's talking about with the luxuries of it. Because in other countries, they don't have, they squat. In most countries they squat to go boo boo. We don't even know. We have to sit down and be relaxed. Like, come on now. They squat in holes and they're done. Uh,
That's true.
but I do believe hygiene and cleanliness is extremely important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Um,
definitely. I'm sorry, guys. I gotta
I
go.
know. I'm
Thank
about to wrap it up anyway because we're about to
you for
knock on
having me.
3 hours.
Good
But
night,
this has
everybody.
been
Hmm.
really, really good. This has been a good conversation, a great live. So I hope everybody takes something from it, from what all the things that we talked about.
Hmm.
But y'all, I gotta go potty. And I'm tired. It's been three
We're really
hours.
on the same time.
Right.
thank thank
But
you
I
for having me,
appreciate
Miss
y'all. I
Gina.
appreciate you,
Bye.
Hey,
Carl. I
Gigi, thanks for
appreciate
having
you,
me in.
Papa.
Ghetto, man, lot of good information.
Bye,
Yeah.
Q Bill, it was great seeing you again. Don't be a
everybody.
stranger.
Bye, y'all. Thank
Appreciate you,
y'all.
brother.
Thank
Thank
y'all.
you,
I
ladies.
Bless
appreciate
you. Bye.
y'all. Bye, everybody. Have a good night.